18-year-old Monica Vasquez claims ex-boyfriend Lyndon Trujillo owes for kicking her car and smashing it with trash cans. Monica also claims Lyndon destroyed her cell phone.
You are?
Lydia Calderon, Monica's mother.
Okay, but you don't know anything about this case particularly, do you?
No.
Except that the car belonged to you.
Belongs to both of us.
Are you both on the title?
Yes.
Why don't you sit down for a moment? You're Monica?
Yes.
This was your boyfriend?
Yes.
How long was he your boyfriend?
For about 3 years.
Monica, you say that he broke your cell phone and vandalized your car.
Yes.
He says he didn't do it. So tell me when he vandalized your car.
It was like about 1:30, and he showed up at my house.
1:30
in the morning.
On what date?
July 28th.
Where were you?
I was at home.
Who else was at home?
My sister.
It was 1:30 a.m. Do you live with your sister?
Yes, I do.
What does your sister do for a living?
She works at Premier Real Estate. She's
And
a
what do you do?
receptionist.
What do you do?
I'm a cashier.
Where?
At Rite Aid.
How long have you been working there?
In October, it'll be a year.
Mr. Trujillo?
Yes.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a tattoo artist.
You work for yourself?
Yeah, pretty much.
What does that mean?
I'm not working at a shop right now.
So where do you work from?
Out of my house.
Are you licensed?
No.
Do you have to be licensed where you live?
No.
Where do you live?
I live in California.
And in California, you don't need a license to give somebody a tattoo with
No,
a
you
needle?
don't.
That's a big mistake, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you need a license to give somebody a pedicure,
Yeah.
but not to give somebody a tattoo.
No.
You sure about that?
I'm positive about that.
Anyway, you make a living at this?
Yeah.
Well, especially since you have no overhead.
What's that? No. What? No. What? No.
Overhead.
Overhead? Oh, okay. Yeah, that was over my head. Sorry.
Unfortunately, Mr. Trujillo, that was true.
Right. Sorry about that.
All right, Miss Vasquez, why don't you tell me about what happened on the 28th of July?
Okay, he showed up at my house, and he knocked on my window. I came out of my room, and I went to the garage, because he went around the house. And I had told him to leave because my sister did not want him around her house.
Why did he come there?
He was...
He said you called him.
No, I did not call him.
You say in your papers, sir, that you went over to the house at 1:30 on July 28th because she called you.
Yeah, we had been talking.
No. Because she called you on July 28th. That's
Okay.
why you said you went over there, right?
Right.
And how did she call you? On your cell phone?
Yeah.
Do you have your cell phone records?
No. I'm sure if I went and got them, I could bring them back to you. I mean, if you wanted to, another
We
date
don't
or
do
something.
do-overs here, Mr. Trujillo. What we do is, when you're coming to court, you're supposed to be prepared. You know what it's like, Mr. Trujillo? You do tattooing?
Yeah.
In your house.
Right.
Let's say you made an appointment with somebody who's going to get a really big tattoo. They were going to pay a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
For the tattoo. And let's say they arrived and they sat down for you to do the tattoo and you forgot to buy ink.
Right. Yeah, it's happened a couple times.
That's what it's like, Mr. Trujillo, when you come here without evidence.
Yeah, I understand.
With just your good looks and tattoo. That's what happens. You're supposed to bring evidence, bring proof. So we have no proof that she called you to arrive at her house at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so you went outside and you told him to disappear.
Yes.
And what happened?
And by that time, my sister had came out because she heard the knock because our rooms are right next door. And she had went out and told him to leave her house because she was going to call the
police.
Because the incident with the phone.
Oh, so the incident with the phone happened first?
Yes.
And that happened about a month before?
Yes.
Why don't you tell me what happened?
Okay, I was at work, and I get out of work at 10, and he showed up at my work, so I left.
Had you not been seeing each other?
No.
Right.
And I left my work, and he followed me down the street, and he was telling me to pull over, and he was next to me in my car. And so I pulled over because he was coming closer to my car, and he had said that if I didn't pull over, he would go to my house and, like, break windows. And so I pulled over, and he had got my phone to check it for what, I don't know, we weren't together. And I was telling him to give me back my phone, and he was like, you want your phone? So he cracked it in half and gave it to me. And so...
Had he been drinking?
Yes, he had a beer in his car.
Who else was in the car?
He was by himself that night.
You got to get a job out of the house, Mr. Trujillo.
Okay.
Listen to me, sir. First, I want you to tell me who these people are that you brought with you to court today.
I brought my dad to court with me today and my brother Fabian. This is my dad, Johnny, and Fabian is Silo.
Yeah, and you all live together?
No.
Do you live alone?
No, I live with my uncle.
Why?
Because my dad has recently moved, and he had moved in with someone else, and there wasn't enough room, so I actually went to live with my uncle.
And where does your brother live?
With his grandpa.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
How old is your brother?
19.
Who did your father move in with?
His girlfriend.
Was there a time you were all living together?
At one time, yeah.
When was the last time you lived together with your father?
About 2 months ago, I lived with my dad in Visalia.
And your brother also lived with your father?
No. My brother has always lived with his grandpa in Tulare.
Did you break her phone?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Well, tell me what happened, Mr. Trujillo.
Me and Monica had been seeing each other before this incident with the cell phone happened. We had been talking, and we had been texting each other, and she had told me that she got out of work at 10 o'clock, and that if I wanted to see her after work. And I said, okay, cool. I had the car, so I said, okay, I'll meet you at Taco Bell. So we went, and we met at Taco Bell parking lot, and we were there. Everything was fine. We were talking, hugging. Everything was cool. And then a call comes through on my phone. And when a call comes through on my phone, it was a ringtone, as, you know, the ringtones, like I know you've heard them, like the lovey-dovey ringtones, like the, you know what I mean, like the guy and girl together ringtones. You know what I'm talking about or no? Like, I mean, I could sing one.
Song or something.
Like, I mean, I could sing one for you, if you want me to sing one. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, at the time when that had happened, we were both kind of looking at each other because I was already like, okay, you know, something's wrong, I messed up. So Monica had...
Yeah.
Yeah, so at that time, Monica had snatched my phone out of my hand. And when that had happened, she snatched my phone, and I reached for it back. We kind of got into an argument, a little conflict, you know what I mean? And
Who was calling you, Mr. Trujillo?
just a friend.
Boyfriend or a girlfriend?
It was a girlfriend.
The timing was really terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't
It
expected.
was messed up.
Yeah, it was at the right time. So when that had happened, I was leaning up against my car, and Monica had thrown my phone at me. But when she had thrown my phone at me, somehow, and you can tell she has little hands. I don't know how she had both phones in her hand, but when she had thrown it at me, my phone rolled over the car, the hood of the car, and her phone hit my car and broke. However it broke, it was snapped in half, and that's basically what happened.
When he met you at Taco Bell, had you told him that you were going to be out of work at 10 o'clock?
No, he called my work around 10, and he said, I was around the corner. He goes, I'll be there right now. And I was like, I'm going home, I'm leaving. And at that point, my boss had opened the doors to let me leave earlier than everybody else, because I had told him. And when I got in my car to leave, he was already at the corner, and that's when he just followed me.
Do you think if I called her boss would say that they opened the door and let her out a little early?
No, I don't.
You don't think so?
No, I don't.
What's your boss's name?
David Centeno.
Give me his number.
It's my phone, and my phone is out there.
The Rite Aid number, 67816. There you go.
7816? Now, Mr. Trujillo,
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
When somebody tells me
Uh-huh.
I tend to disbelieve everything that they say, especially when I have to get my rather sizable keister off this chair and go in the back to make a telephone call. Do you understand?
Oh, yes.
Now, I am prepared to do that.
Okay.
Unless you want to revise your version of the cell phone events.
No, ma'am. No, not at all.
Okay, so let's call Mr. David, because he doesn't have any clue that I might be calling him. He is going to tell me whether or not he let her out early because you were going to come over.
Right.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay.
Yes, is David Centeno there, please? David, this is Judge Judy Sheindlin. How are you? Good, thank you. David, I have a question for you. I'm here trying a case with Monica Vasquez. And I want you to think back to sometime around the end of June of this year, in the evening when she was leaving. There was an incident with her boyfriend when he called the store. Do you remember that? Could you tell me what happened, please, David? Mm-hmm. Okay. Wonderful. David, you're a very, very nice man for speaking to me. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Boss is a very nice gentleman. Mr. Trujillo, I suggest you spend a little less time tattooing and piercing yourself and a little more time honing your truthful skills, sir. Honing your truthful skills. Ask your father what that means. honing your truthful skills, sir.
Oh, okay.
Because Mr. Santano says that he remembers the evening very well. You would call the store. You said, I'm going to get down there before the store closes. They let her leave early, and they stood there to watch her get in her car and take off before you got there because she had already broken up with you, and she was afraid about what was going to happen if you got there.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So now I believe very little, sir, of what you're going to tell me. So now he owes you a cell phone. Now I want you to tell me what happened when he vandalized your car.
Okay, that was the night he showed up at my window.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you came out, you told him to leave. Sister came out, and you told him to leave. And I understand that there were other people with him.
His father and his brother.
Two geniuses.
Yes. And they were all drinking.
Two geniuses. Well, they can't live together, so at least they can drink together. I guess that's what family's all about. Go ahead.
And my sister had told his dad to keep him away from her house. And his dad didn't really understand what was happening because Lyndon didn't let him know about the night with the cell phone. So he didn't understand why my sister was...
I think if there wasn't a cell phone, his father wouldn't have understood. Go ahead.
So after that, my sister had told him she was going to call the cops and get a restraining order on him. And at that time, Lyndon was mad because his dad had told me, well, then I don't want her calling him or at my house. And I had said, I haven't called your son and I haven't been to your house. And at that time, Lyndon had got mad and they were drinking. So he kind of like pushed my sister. And at that time, when he got angry, my sister ran to the house to call the cops. And at that time, I had ran back to the house too because he was still mad. And he followed me to the garage door on the side of the house. And when I closed the door and locked it, I could feel him trying to open it. He just went to the front of the garage where my car was parked, and I heard a loud noise. And at that time, I had lifted the garage door up because my sister had came out, and we seen him leave the side of my car and get into his dad's car, and the two trash cans were against my car, laying against my car.
You have pictures of
Yes,
the car?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Outrageous. When did you purchase this car?
Last year in November,
Bought it yourself?
my mom helped me.
Who pays for it?
I do.
Paid the insurance too? Mm-hmm. Stand up next to him. You came here, you might as well stand up here.
Monica Vasquez says ex-boyfriend Lyndon Trujillo owes for vandalizing her car and for destroying her cell phone.
What were you doing out with your son at 1:30 in the morning?
We had went to the club,
What club?
El Presidente,
What were you doing at the club?
dancing.
And drinking?
I was, yes.
With whom?
Females,
All different kinds?
pretty much, yeah.
So if you were dancing and drinking with a whole bunch of females, you weren't watching what your two sons were doing.
Actually, he was on his cell phone the whole time we were there, text messaging and back and forth. And I went to him and asked him, who you texting? And he said, Monica. So,
And that's what he said to you.
yeah.
That's what he said to you, but you don't know that that's true.
No, but
If I may, Your Honor?
Yeah.
The day before the cell phone incident had occurred,
Yeah.
she came to my house,
Yeah.
and my dad was coming up from work, and she was coming downstairs. I was walking her down to her car.
And?
And that's why I don't understand really how it could go from her being upstairs in my house and me and her being together in a relationship or working things out, and then to...
Well, were you working things out, or were you in a relationship, sir?
No, we're working things out to be in a relationship.
So what did you go there at 1:30 in the morning for?
Because we had been texting each other. We had been texting and talking to each other, and...
Did she invite you there?
Yeah, I had her on speakerphone
Yeah.
because I was the designated driver.
Yeah, she had told him
Yeah, she was in the
that
car. She knew that
had
the
told
speakerphone
him
wasn't on.
that her sister was asleep, the kids were gone, for him to go over there and visit, to see her.
And what were you going to do?
I just sat in the car because I was drinking.
You, and what about him?
He was in the back seat.
So the two of you were just going to sit there in the back seat of the car,
Well,
in the
actually,
front seat
yeah.
of the car, while he went inside to visit with his girlfriend?
They didn't go inside. They stayed outside in the driveway.
Fine. So he goes over to see Monica, and how did her car get dented?
When we got there, Monica had stepped outside. She was walking towards her car. We pulled up, and she went like this, like waved us over there. We all three got out of the car, walked over. She showed us a dent on her car and said that she had got into an accident with a motorcyclist. And me and her made a few comments back and forth because I had just recently wrecked my Harley. And I had told her, you know, so anyways, we said a few statements back and forth. And then me and Fabian went back and got back in the car. They stayed there talking, hugging, kissing until Marie came outside. And Monica flipped the whole script when Marie came outside because she was
Were
upset.
you at his house the day before?
No, I was not.
Yeah, you was.
No, I was not.
Yeah, you was.
No, I was not.
When you send a text message, could you save those things?
They stayed for 14 days.
Huh?
You can lock them.
save them, right?
Yes, you can.
Show me.
Your Honor, I don't have my phone with me. I don't have any proof right now, Your Honor, so it's...
Why don't you, sir?
Because I came unprepared. I came on intentions of knowing that what I know is true.
Is everything that you said just now as truthful as you went over to the store the end of June, invited by her to come over to the store?
What, to her store, Rite Aid?
Yeah.
No, I didn't go to Rite Aid.
Oh, no.
No, I said I went to Taco Bell. I drove to Taco Bell. She was at Rite Aid when we had talked on her.
Why would you think, Mr. Trujillo, that she would say to her boss, concerned, I just want to get out of here before he comes over? And the boss distinctly remembers all the employees watching her get into the car to make sure she was safe and leave.
But I wasn't in her parking lot, though.
I don't care whether you were in a parking lot or not, sir. Why do you think the boss would remember that?
Oh, yeah, no, boss, no. I'm not saying that. She got in her car, but I'm saying what I'm trying to tell you, though, is that I did not go into her parking lot.
No, what you said, Mr. Trujillo, was that you had an appointment to meet in Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And that, sir, is a lie. That, sir, is a lie.
That we met in Taco Bell?
It is a lie that you had an appointment to meet at Taco Bell. Because when she heard from you, she asked her boss if she could take off because she was concerned about her safety. They all watched her leave.
Then why would she have pulled into Taco Bell if she knew that she could have got away from me?
I don't know what you were doing, sir. And I don't know what your drunken father was doing or your drunken brother was doing on the night this happened with the car. I have no clue. All I know is, sir, you lied to me once, and you also don't know the law in the jurisdiction where you live because you're required to have a license to tattoo. Sir.
Okay.
And what is your address?
My address right now?
Where you're doing the tattooing?
In a house. On
What is the address?
I don't know my address. I just know it's on Bradley Street. I've only been there like a month, 2 months, so I don't know the address. I don't get mail there.
Did you make more than 3 children or just 3?
Only 3.
Only 3. So far you got 2 losers, right? 1,
I don't consider
2.
them losers, but...
Well, so far they haven't done anything to make you proud.
Sure they have.
I don't see
I
it.
graduated high school. That made me proud.
My God. My God, that's like the 8th wonder of the world.
That's an accomplishment in this family.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
You got to do something with it once you graduate from high school.
Yes, I totally agree.
So pleased that you agree with me. I've been looking forward all year for a person of your stature to agree with me. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $950. That's all. Goodbye.
Diana Maddox is suing her ex-boyfriend, Charles Darnell, for the return of Christmas gifts she left in his home. Charles says the gifts went missing.
Ms. Maddox, according to your complaint, you dated the defendant for many months. And the beginning of December of last year, you went Christmas shopping together. You purchased some items, some of which you left at his house. Those items that you left in his house, according to you, were Christmas presents for your grandchildren.
Yes.
And some other items. Sometime in mid-December, you broke up. And you claim that Mr. Darnell refuses to give you back the property that you left at his house. Mr. Darnell says that he has none of your property, that you must have come to the house to get it because you had a key to the house, and after you broke up, you came home, found your stuff gone. So he assumes that you took the Christmas presents, and that one of the items that you're suing for is a welder.
Yes.
And the welder, he says, was a gift to him from you.
No.
So let's start with the welder so that would make things easy. When Mr. Darnell did you get the welder?
Sunday, December 3rd.
Now, was that a Christmas present?
Yes, it was.
Okay, tell me the circumstances surrounding that, Mr. Darnell.
We had went Christmas shopping. I had previously, on November 24th, I had paid to have a remote starting system put on her car for her Christmas present, and this was in return for my Christmas present.
So you had a remote put in her car. How much was that?
$187.20.
And how much was the welder?
I don't remember the exacts, but I would say the welder was in the $120 range. Plus, there was some accessories bought with it.
$178.75, Your Honor.
Now, tell me about this remote starter that he put in your car in November.
I asked for a Christmas gift of the remote start for my car.
And he put that in?
He did.
So he put that in as a Christmas present to you?
Yes.
And you bought this welder as a Christmas present for him?
No, I bought the welder as a Christmas gift for my son.
I don't believe you.
My son requested it.
Mr. Darnell, when she gave you the welder, what did she say?
Merry Christmas.
That's... Your Honor, that's not true.
Was it unwrapped?
It had never been wrapped.
Okay, let's leave out the welder for a moment, Miss Maddox. Let me hear about the Christmas presents.
On November 4th is when I actually started my Christmas shopping, and we had went to Sam's Club together, and for my 2 grandchildren, I had bought 2 TJ Berry Tales. They're animated learning teddy bears. The teddy bears actually read to my grandchildren. I purchased them for $128.10.
Why did you leave it at his house?
Because the animated teddy bears, some of the stuff was electrical, and I didn't want to leave it out in my vehicle overnight.
Okay, I see. Now, all the stuff that you purchased, that you left at his house, comes to how much, exclusive of the welder?
$479.30, or 38 cents, excuse me.
On what date did you break up?
December 9th.
According to your complaint, you tried to work things out on December 17th.
I had called and left a message on December 16th to talk to him.
Mr. Darnell.
I returned the phone call. She was argumentative, and I just didn't feel that I wanted to contend with it at that time.
Or at all?
Or at all.
So you didn't see her on December 17th?
No.
What happened on December 9th, sir?
We were supposed to go to her job Christmas party that evening, which I had already been to my business and taken care of stuff, and I got a call back that I had to go back due to an equipment problem. I tried to get a hold of her for over an hour, and she couldn't be gotten a hold of, and I finally did get a hold of her and told her that I couldn't go to the Christmas party, and she become upset about it. So I just finally told her that I think we needed to part company.
Okay. Now, at that time, these Christmas presents were at your house.
Yes, they were.
Where were they in the house?
They were in the living room.
And when did you find them missing, sir?
December the 18th.
Tell me about that.
I got home from work at approximately 4 p.m. and I noticed the stuff was gone, and there was a few of her personal effects that was gone out of the bathroom. And
what kind of personal items were in the bathroom?
Basically just cosmetic stuff.
And that was gone?
Yes.
Other than that, did she have anything else in your home?
No.
No clothes?
No.
So just the Christmas presents and some items in the bathroom?
Correct.
And that was gone? And when for the first time, Mr. Darnell, did Miss Maddox call you and say she wanted these Christmas presents?
On Thursday, December 21st.
Where did she reach you?
She called me on my cell phone.
And what did she say to you?
That she wanted her belongings back, and I asked her how I can give something back that I don't have.
And what did she say?
She said I was a liar. So the next thing I know, she was at my house with a Muskingum County deputy. She tried to make the deputy let her into my home, and I wouldn't let her in the home. And then he asked me about the welder. I said, yes, I do have the welder, but it was given to me as a gift. And he basically told her that was the end of it because it was given to me as a gift.
You have the police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it, please.
It's not actually a report. It's a log where they showed up.
When you called the police, Miss Maddox, to accompany you, what did you tell them?
I told them that I saw him loading things into his car, and I needed assistance to make sure that he didn't take off with the teddy bears. I thought it was the TJ Berry Tales.
When did you see him putting things in the back of his car?
On the 21st of December. I had called him, left him a message. He called me back, told me I would never get my belongings back. I had 3 CDs in my car. I didn't want it.
That was on the 21st?
This is on the 21st. So I went to his house anyway. I handed him the CDs because I didn't want them. I said, could I please get my stuff? And he said, you'll never get your stuff. So I left. I went to some pawn shops. Hoped maybe he had sold them. I could maybe buy them back for my Christmas presents. And they wasn't at the pawn shops. So there's a school behind his house, and for some reason, I pulled behind there, and I saw him loading 2 boxes into the back of his car. And I thought they were TJ teddy bears. I really wanted them for my grandchildren. So I called the deputies to help me get them.
Did they look in his car?
No. They said it was property. That's why they didn't. Because at that point on me, I did not have the receipts.
I have to make a judgment as to whether or not you're telling me the truth. What do you think I'm going to decide?
You'll probably rule in her favor.
I will. Do you know why?
Why?
Because she's telling me the truth. That's why. Because I've been in this business for 40 years. And that's why I can tell who's telling the truth and I can tell who's lying. And there isn't a question in my mind that this lady would not have come to court today unless she felt as if you did the wrong thing by keeping her grandchildren. It may have been other things, you know. There were other things other than gifts for her grandchildren. Maybe she would have let it slide. But it really irritated her that because you broke up in a way that was unpleasant, you took her property, which I believe, I don't know what you did with it. You sold it. You have grandchildren. Maybe you gave it to your grandchildren. Maybe you gave it to your friend's grandchildren. Maybe someplace. Maybe you donated it to children. Who knows what you did with it? But there is no question in my mind that you had her property. The welder is yours, Mr. Darnell. I honestly believe you when you said to me that she gave you that as a quid pro quo for putting the starter in her car. And it was an early Christmas present, but not the toys. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $479. That's all.
Rhonda Radcliffe says her daughter, Tamara Vaughn, had her falsely arrested for assault and stole property from her home. Tamara is countersuing for the assault in question.
Ms. Radcliffe, the defendant is your daughter.
Yes.
She's 32 years old, and she's one of how many children?
8.
How many of the 8 children still live at home?
4.
How old are they?
18, 16, 13, and 10.
Are you a working lady?
Yes, I am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a nurse.
Your complaint alleges that your daughter moved back home because she was having some financial problems. And she moved back home with her daughter, who was how old?
15.
It's your claim that that did not work out
No.
very well, and that your daughter had you falsely arrested for assault. In addition, while you were in jail on her assault complaint, which was ultimately dismissed due to her non-appearance, she stole some property from your home.
Yes.
You want to be compensated for the false arrest as well as for the property that you claim she took from the house. Your daughter says she did not take any property from your house, that you did in fact assault her, that property was taken from her, and she's counterclaiming. Now, when did your daughter move back home?
Sometime in November.
Do you remember?
Sometime in November, towards the end of November.
Why did you move back home, Ms. Vaughn?
I was in a car accident and I injured my back.
When were you in a car accident?
August of 2006.
And?
November of 2006 is when I moved in with her.
How long did you stay?
Until September of 2007.
Yes.
She stayed until October 6th, 2007.
So you were there for almost a year?
Correct.
Not working?
Correct.
Is there anything that prevented you from working?
Yes.
During that year? What?
The pain in my back.
Okay. So now tell me what happened.
Well, it started with a phone call while I'm at work. She had her brother and sister arrested, said that they assaulted her.
You called the police?
Yes, I did.
When was that?
September 20th of 07.
Tell me what happened.
Ray and Aunt Toria were in the living room, acting up, wrestling, I guess. They broke the glass out of the entertainment center. I walked in, tried to ask them what was going on. They were still acting silly, so I told them, go upstairs. You know, I'm calling Mom to let her know what's going on. They started getting belligerent. They refused to go upstairs. My sister tried to leave out the front door. She said that she didn't have to listen to me. She's not going to do nothing I say. She was going to leave.
You mean this sister?
Correct.
Go ahead.
I proceeded to close the door and I locked it and I was standing in her way. She then smacked me in my face and she pulled my hair. And once I got her hands off of my hair, she went to take off through the living room towards the back door. So I went to walk after her to try and stop her.
Why?
She didn't have permission. It was in the evening time. She didn't need to be outside.
Just a second. Were you left in charge of them?
Always. When my mother would go to work, I was in charge.
Is that right?
Well, I never actually said it, but she was the oldest one there.
Okay. So you told her not to leave and you locked the door?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
As I proceeded to walk after her, my brother then grabbed me up around my neck and pulled me down to the ground. When I got him off of me is when I got up and I got my cell phone and I went outside to the side of the house and I called the cops.
Doesn't sound like a very good supervisor to me.
Because
okay.
kids don't know how to act?
No, I don't understand why a 32-year-old sister in those circumstances would call the police to have her younger siblings arrested and carted off to jail, as opposed to saying, oh, listen, I'm going to take a breather, I'm going upstairs, I'm going to go in my room, wait until my mother comes home from work, and it's my mother's problem, not mine. But I don't see.
That's happened in the past.
Just a second. Has your mother ever called the police on your siblings?
No.
Right, because that's not what you do.
Right, because if she puts her hands on them, it's not assault. I'm not going to put myself in that situation.
What do you mean if she puts her hands on them, it's not assault? Why would you put your hands on them?
To discipline them.
Ms. Vaughn, that's not your job.
Exactly, so I didn't put my hands on them.
It's not your job to discipline them, and it certainly is ridiculous for you to call the police. What?
The police officers took pictures. There was no red marks on her.
I don't know what happened. I'm just telling you, whatever happened there, if they were fooling around, they weren't fighting with each other, they were messing around being big, stupid children and broke something. What did you break?
I didn't break anything.
What did you break?
I didn't break anything.
Well, there was glass broken, I understand.
They knew nothing about the glass.
When you came home from work, was that glass broken?
Yes, it was.
Well, the glass didn't break by itself. Anyway, your sister had no reason, in my view, good reason, to call the police and have you arrested. Number one. That's what you did. So what did you do? Well, you came home, you were furious with her, and you told her she had to leave.
Yes, of course, and she wouldn't.
What did you say to her?
I was more concerned with the children and finding a placement for them so they wouldn't have to go to Columbia and spend God knows how long in a detention center. And once I found a safe placement...
Where did you find a placement?
In the neighborhood with neighbors.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is your 32-year-old daughter wouldn't leave and you couldn't have the kids back in the house while she was there.
Right.
Why wouldn't you leave?
That's not true. That was my place of residence, and the officer
Just a second.
pressed the
It was
charges.
your place of residence because you were living there, because your mother allowed you to move back because you were not feeling well. But that's not your place of residence. That's her place of residence, and that's her minor children's place
Where
of
I was
residence.
residing.
But once she tells you to leave, you got to go. How much rent did you pay her each month that you were there? Is not an answer.
I was currently working for about 2 months after my accident when I moved in with her,
I'm
and I
not
paid
talking
her
2 months.
$400.
Okay.
After
The last
that,
9 months you were living there, how much rent did you pay her?
$100 a month.
Ridiculous.
Well,
That's not
what I
rent.
could afford.
That's not rent. That covered your food. That covered your
No,
lights.
I bought food
That
for the
covered your
house.
lights, your electricity for you and your daughter. Ridiculous. So you were not a rent-paying person there, so you were living there at your mother's will. You're not a tenant. She told you to leave, you should have left. Continue.
Well, Friday morning they had a court date, and the judge also asked me how old she was and why wasn't she out of my home, and she won't leave my home. So I had to do an eviction. And I had papers to show that I went down and did the eviction. And I come home, I don't talk to her. My daughter witnessed her tearing something up. We had to call the police.
What date?
On the 21st.
September 21st.
Yes, ma'am.
Had she been served with the eviction paper?
Not yet.
Go ahead.
So they couldn't do anything because she was in a lawsuit with them by having them arrested. So nothing was done because she was allowed to tear things up and nobody could stop her.
That's not true.
Well, I go to work Friday night. I come home. I'm a night nurse. I get home at 6:30.
In the morning?
Yes, ma'am. Saturday morning, I walk in my home. My living room looked clean, which is very odd. The kitchen was a total disaster, so I started cleaning up my kitchen, and I read my newspaper and went to bed. I looked at my watch. It was 7:15 when I laid down. I do not know what time it was when someone banged on my door and woke me up. I mean, banged hard. So my children aren't in the house, so the only person in my mind who could do
Where
this...
are your other two children?
Geraldo, the 18-year-old, was there asleep, but the baby, I removed him also because I didn't want her doing anything against him.
Where did you send the baby?
He went to a neighbor's. So I have different ways because of her.
Are there all the children home now?
All of my babies are home now.
Go ahead.
So I woke up with this banging, and I get up and I sling open my bedroom door, and nobody's there. All the doors are standing open. So I look in my bathroom, no one's there, I close it. Garage door's open, I look, no one's there, I close it. I go out the back door, no one's there, I close it. Go through the front, no one's there. Where is her and my granddaughter? I did not know where they're at. So I'm yelling for them, and I'm walking down my porch, looking inside of the house. I said, I don't know what their games they're playing, but I need to get some sleep. So I was going to go back in, but then I see spots of blood on the sidewalk at the end of my steps come down the porch. So now my heart is beating. Maybe they needed my help. So I'm looking, I'm following the blood, and I see her stooping down on a cell phone with her arm down, letting the blood flow all over the ground. So I'm yelling to her, get your arm up. What happened? Where's Sherelle? And she's acting like she's afraid of me, and she's running. So I turn around, I run back in the house, want to see where Sherelle is. I go to Geraldo's room, and I'm banging on his door. He's waking up, he's asleep. I said, well, is Sherelle in there? He said, no. I said, come on. I said, Tamara's bleeding. I said, can't find Sherelle. So I run back downstairs, I call 911. Then I run back outside because I'm going to have to stop the flow of blood somehow.
You called 911?
I called 911 to say I don't know where my granddaughter is, and I was trying to tell them real fast what happened. She's bleeding, I need to go stop the blood. So I'm back outside, and there stands my granddaughter with her. And I'm like, Sherelle, what did you do? What's going on? And she said, oh, Grandma, you know what happened. You did this. Click, after what she done to these children, I turn around and call my son. I said, Tamara is setting me up. y'all need to get here. I'm fixing to be arrested.
Okay. What happened to the case?
It was dismissed because she didn't show up in court.
How long were you in jail?
12 hours.
How many days did the children, all 3 children, spend at neighbors' homes?
2 weeks we were out of our home.
On what date did your daughter finally move out of your house?
She was ordered out on October the 6th at 4 o'clock, and I was ordered back into my home at 5 o'clock.
Okay, Ms. Vaughn, let me hear you.
The 21st is when she did call the cops to try and make a false police report, because after having to deal with my brother and sister the night before, my back was hurting even more. So all day long, I still had my pajamas on, my robe, my house shoes. I laid up in the recliner on my medicine all day.
What kind of medication were you taking?
Baclofen, Lyrica, and hydrocodone.
How long had you been on this cocktail?
Earlier in the year. I'm not sure exactly when.
After you moved out of your mother's house on October 6th, where did you go?
To a friend's house.
Where do you live now?
With my boyfriend.
Is this a boyfriend you had while you were living with your mother?
No.
So you found a boyfriend after you moved out?
Yes.
How long have you been living with the boyfriend?
Several months.
Where are you working?
Nowhere.
Why not?
My back is still injured.
Well, let me ask you this about the boyfriend. Do you have intimate relations with the boyfriend?
Obviously.
Back doesn't bother you?
Yes.
But you do it anyway. Is that right?
That's correct.
It's the same way you work. If your back bothers you a little bit, you
Sex
get a job.
doesn't last 8 hours.
That's not my fault. Now, listen to me. You're 32 years old. She has 3 minor children. If somebody has to leave the house, it has to be you. Whether it's your fault, whether it's the children's fault, doesn't make any difference. You're the intruder.
No.
You are not paying rent, you're not paying a
I was
mortgage, you're
paying
not paying
rent.
gas, you're not paying electric, you're not
Yes.
paying for the maintenance
I
on the
was
house. And
contributing.
you have, I'm speaking, and you have 3 siblings who are not home, who are minors because you're there, and they are into the house because you're there, so you have to move. And you chose not to do that. So now give me what happened when your mother came home in the morning that caused you to be assaulted.
She was still cussing and fussing, threatening.
Well, no, first of all, she was working.
When
So
she came home in the morning.
She came home in the morning from working. I know that that's hard.
I'm
working.
sure.
And what did she say when she came home from work?
Calling me all kind of and telling me that she's going to get me out sooner than what I can get out.
Sounds perfectly right to me. Next. So? And what did you say to her?
Nothing. I was ignoring her at first.
Well, at first. What about, let's go to at second. What did you say to her at second? At first you were ignoring.
When we were in the kitchen and she was still fussing and cussing, she had her back towards me. I was in there. I started making the coffee. I said, I don't want to hear this mess this morning. And that's when she turned around and she hit me in the head with a metal pan.
And?
My eyes went black and I leaned back up against the refrigerator. And the next thing that I know, my arm is cut and it's bleeding. I didn't see what she cut me with, but that's when I started screaming to wake my daughter up and to get the phone so we could call the cops.
You have the police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. You have your police report?
No, I couldn't get one.
This is the one where I was arrested. Okay.
Ah, Miss Radcliffe, the police report indicates in sum and substance that a lot of things that you told the police officer didn't quite make sense. It did, however, say that when your daughter was in the kitchen, what she said to you was not some, just leave me alone. According to your daughter, she used some vulgarity to you and said, according to you, leave me the blank alone, is what you told the police you said to your mother. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then that's the last thing she says. She remembers that she got hit over the head with something, maybe a frying pan. While I certainly don't condone anybody using an instrumentality that was capable of causing injury to another human being, I can certainly understand the frustration of the mother of 8 children, 4 of whom are minors and who live at home, who was put in the position of having to take her minor children and pawn them off to neighbors because her 32-year-old daughter, who was probably perfectly capable of some sort of employment, has been mooching off of her for a year with her 15-year-old child on a cocktail of drugs, which is keeping her in a semi-stupor for most of the day. She was forced to move out. She moved in with a friend, and then instead of putting her life together and trying to do what was necessary to make a home for her daughter, she found some guy to support her for a while.
My life is together.
Yeah, your life's not together. If you're 32 years old and you're not employed and you don't have a career or some independent way of earning a living.
Due to a back injury.
Madam, if you can enjoy the bedroom with a new boyfriend, you can get a job. So, I don't believe that you have established to my satisfaction that your daughter had you falsely arrested. In all probability, I think that you did, in fact, clobber her. And I'm not satisfied that the arrest was false. And there were a lot of other people in the house, so I don't think you're going to be able to establish to my satisfaction that she took property from the house when she left. Now, Ms. Vaughn, on the other hand, is counterclaiming for the assault. And I believe that your mother did, in fact, hit you over the head. I believe
And
that.
also cut my arm.
I don't know about that. You may have cut your arm when you fell.
Oh, I didn't hit
Who
her
knows?
either.
I didn't fall.
I have no idea how that happened, neither do you.
It's
And
not
neither
in-
to me. I don't know how you got cut, Ms. Vaughn. In any event.
I know how I got cut because she cut me.
Well, good. Okay, fine. In any event, I also don't think that you can establish to my satisfaction that she took any of your property while she was in jail by having these two children act on her behalf and take
It
property out
wasn't
of the
those
house.
two children. It was all 4 children plus
Who knows?
the other
Who
grown
knows?
child.
Who knows? You don't know that for a fact. You are
I do know that
speculating.
for a fact because I was standing right there watching them half the time take the stuff out the house.
Oh, good. So tell me what you saw children take out of the house.
All of this, a lot of the stuff that she's claiming that I took out.
Just a second. Tell me what...
My property
Tell
came
me-
up
tell
missing
me.
when I was gone out of the house.
Okay. Ms. Vaughn, I think you are absolutely entitled to being compensated by your mother for all the aggravation she caused you by you living in the house without her permission, forcing her to take her children and put them elsewhere.
Without
And
permission
I'm
of what?
speaking.
Without permission
I'm
of what?
speaking. I think without living there without permission, you did not have her permission when she told you to move. And I believe she assaulted you. And I believe that you have to be compensated for that, for exactly what it's worth, for all the aggravation that your mother caused you. So I'm awarding you on your counterclaim the sum of $1. That's all. Goodbye.
23-year-old Crystal Howell is suing her neighbor, Rory Bays, for money owed on a 1989 Mitsubishi Montero she sold him. Rory claims it was never a legal sale.
Ms. Howell, you sold the defendant a used car
Correct.
for $1,900.
That is correct.
He paid you, according to you, $900, and the understanding was he was going to make payments for the rest, the other $1,000. Within a relatively short period of time, the engine blew up in this car. What year car was it?
It was an 89. However, I would like to point out that at the time he bought the vehicle, he was aware of...
Just don't tell me what he was aware of.
Okay.
You can't tell me what he was aware of.
Can I tell
Unless
you what I told him?
No.
Okay.
What you can do is you can show me a bill of sale.
Yes. What would that
Bill
be
of
the
sale.
title? Or I have a
contract, a bill of sale.
written agreement. There you go.
So this is a 1989 car, which is now 18 years old. And you sold it to him for $1,900. And he says Arbla is responsible for the purchase of this 1989 Mitsubishi, payments, what the delivery payment was, and how they were supposed to be made, the rest of the payments, when they were supposed to be made. Nothing about the condition of the car, nothing. That's all it says. So you can't tell me what you told him, you can't tell me what he knew, you can't tell me anything else, because anything else should have been in this contract. Do you understand? Law does not permit you to go outside the 4 corners of this contract. So you were selling him this car. It blew
As
up
is.
after a... No, not as is. You did not say that here. Do you understand that? Good. So the car blew up, but that still doesn't relieve you, sir, of the obligation of paying for the car. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Except you say that she didn't have clear title to sell you the car.
No, ma'am, she didn't.
That when the car blew up, you went to try to take it to a salvage for the purpose of... Put your hand down. For the purpose of getting some money, so you were going to pay for it.
Correct.
And you didn't have clear title to the car.
Correct.
May I interject?
Yes.
The person that I purchased it for never took his name off the title, which I was unaware of because
Oh,
the automobile
then
that
he's
I bought.
absolutely right. You did not give him clear title.
But
Then listen to me.
automobile dealership that I purchased it from is responsible for transferring the title.
Listen to me. What he's saying is, and he's absolutely right,
I have a copy of the lien right here, ma'am.
I'd like to see it. You did not have clear title to sell him this car.
However, I will say that when I purchased the vehicle, I had owned that car for 6 years. I purchased this off 3 years before selling it to Rory.
Hugh is the lien holder.
He was the gentleman that I purchased the car from.
Miss Howell,
I owe
what
him no
I'm
money.
telling you is you did not give him clear title to this car.
I was unaware of that.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $2,900 to $3,500. I'm not
Okay.
positive of the amount.
Let's say you paid $2,900 for it. You sold it to him for $1,900. You got $900 from him, which means you had the car for 6 years or so, and it cost you $2,000. Do you understand what I'm saying? I feel badly at all dismissing your claim.
But
not at all.
I
Because this agreement that you just gave me is void because you had no right to sell him the car. And I don't care what you put in it in order to maintain it.
It had a brand new motor. May I please call my
Miss Howell,
father as a witness?
Miss Howell.
Yes.
Is he going to tell me that there wasn't a lien on the car?
No.
Then I'm not interested in what he has to say. Thank you very much. Your case is dismissed.
Twintis is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old Christopher Peterson, for a bounced rent check and the resulting fees.
Miss Davis, you and Mr. Peterson lived together for a period of time. He was your boyfriend. Your financial arrangement was that you would give him your half of the rent check, he would put in his half of the rent, and pay the landlord. But according to you, you gave him your half of the rent for October of 2006. You had an argument somewhere at the beginning of October where you called the police and had him removed from the house. And he left. He left and he closed the bank account on which this check was drawn, so the check bounced. You remained in the apartment and were forced, according to you, to pay the entire rent, including his half of the rent. Mr. Peterson says, through really no fault of his own, you weren't getting along, you'd had an argument, you went to the police, you had him removed, he wasn't living there, he doesn't have to pay rent, right?
That's right.
So, Miss Davis, when did you move in together?
May of 05.
And when did this incident occur, October of 06?
Yes.
What day in October?
October 9th, I believe.
Is that right?
That's wrong.
What date?
October 6th.
Now, Miss Davis, you're going to tell me exactly what happened on October the 6th.
On October the 6th, Mr. Peterson went out to my car without my permission, went into my car, grabbed a pack of cigarettes out of my car for himself and one for me as well. I did not ask him to do this. He did not have permission to go out to my car. When he came back and I discovered that he had taken a pack for himself as well, I was a little upset. And I confronted him on it and he lied to me.
What did you say?
I asked him if he had taken the pack, why he had taken it without asking me. And he said that he never took a pack and called me a liar. When I confronted him on it and he lied to me yet again, I got upset and basically told him I was done with the lies in the relationship. And when I told him I was done with the relationship, he didn't take that kindly. He said he was not going to give up on the relationship, that he was not going to leave, he wasn't going to give up on us. And when I told him that he did not have a choice, because I was done, he started punching himself in the face.
Show me how he did that.
He was pacing back and forth in the room that we were talking in and just started pounding on himself.
So?
I got scared and I went over to my friend's house.
Okay, he didn't touch you, he didn't put his hands on you?
No.
Okay, so you left and you went to your friend's house?
Yes.
And?
And the next morning, I was afraid to go home, so I went to the police.
What'd you go to the police for? To take you home?
I did not feel safe to go home with the state of mind that he was in.
Okay, so what did you want the police to do?
To remove him.
Why?
So that I could go home.
Well, it was his home too.
But I was not safe in my own home.
But it was his home.
It was his home too, yes.
So if you're not safe, he hasn't done anything to threaten you. He hasn't done anything to harm you. He hasn't put his hands on you. If anything, he was, according to you, he was hurting himself. He was acting, you know, in a self-destructive way. So if you felt unsafe because you didn't like his mental state, why didn't you just leave?
I didn't feel I should have to pack up everything in the apartment that was mine and leave because he was unstable.
Can I see what you told the police, please?
I filed for an order of protection. I didn't have a police report.
What did you say in the report that gave you an order of protection?
I told them exactly what happened.
No. I can't believe anybody issued you an order of protection based on that. Oh, you lied.
No.
Oh, yes, you did.
No.
You said to the police the reason that you were coming to ask for assistance is because he physically threatened you by raising an object over his head to throw it at you and yelled and screamed and called her names.
He had done this prior to this date.
Evicted from the house. You had reason to leave yourself if you wanted to leave, but you had no reason to force him out of the house. None whatsoever. Okay. Mr. Peterson, you want to tell me your version of the events? What happened? First of all, I don't understand this business about going out. You live together, you're sharing a house, you're sharing a bedroom, you have an intimate relationship, and she gets upset because you went out and took 2 packs of cigarettes instead of 1. Did you go out to the car to get a pack of cigarettes for her?
I went out to the car to grab a pack of cigarettes for her. I asked her that night, and she said yes.
He'd never
No, don't speak now. Don't speak. You have to be quiet. Because it's his turn to testify. Did you see how quiet he was when you were testifying? Now it's his turn.
I asked her permission the night before to grab a pack of cigarettes.
Are you on some sort of medication? Listen to me, Miss Davis. Are you on medication?
No.
Then I can speak to you frankly. I said it once. When you were testifying, he was quiet. He didn't interrupt. Now it's your turn to be quiet and allow me to take his testimony. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
Good.
The night before, I did ask permission to go to her car and get a pack of cigarettes for myself. She was okay with that.
I don't understand why there was this whole big hullabaloo because of the cigarettes, so it must have been something else fomenting in the relationship for a while.
It was because I was also unemployed for at least 3 weeks, and she
was annoyed because you weren't working and weren't buying the cigarettes.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay. So what happened when you came inside, Mr. Peterson?
What happened was I came inside. I went to try to get into my bedroom. She had the master bedroom door blocked. I don't know why she had it all blocked, but after an hour and a half, 2 hours later, she had the door open. There was this mysterious odor in the air, as if she was smoking something funky.
Mr. Peterson, did you at any time on the 6th of October threaten Miss Davis?
No.
Did you at any time on the 6th of October pick up an object to throw at her?
No.
Had that ever happened in the past?
No.
Did she give you her half of the rent?
Yes, she did.
For October?
Yes, she did.
And you didn't pay any of the rent?
I did pay the rent. I had my half in my checking account. She gave me her half. When I closed out my checking account, I made sure that all the money was still in the account.
Okay. How much out of pocket are you, Miss Davis?
I'm out $914.
From what?
I gave him $467, plus his half of the rent, plus the late fees and the non-sufficient
His
funds.
half of the rent he's not giving
He's
you.
still on the lease.
I don't care whether he's still on the lease. You threw him out of the house without just cause. You threw him out by lying to the police. And you're not being, listen to me, and you're not being rewarded for that. If you felt unsafe about going back to your home because you felt as if he wasn't acting in an appropriate way, then you go stay with your friend, you stay with your family, you find a new apartment. But you don't lie to the police and have him thrown out. So you're not getting his half of the rent. Period. The money that you gave him, that he is responsible for if you didn't get it back. Now, so my question is, did you get that money back?
I have not seen any money from him.
So how much was his half of the rent?
$363.
And you gave him $467
I gave him $467.
Why would you give him $467 if his half was $363?
Part of it was supposed to go toward another bill that did not get paid as well.
What bill?
A credit card bill.
Okay, well, then that's what he owes you, $467, not $900. You had no right to throw him out of the apartment, and you absolutely didn't have any right to lie to the police. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $467. That's
Do
all.
I get
Thank
the
you.
late fees or anything like that?
Absolutely not, madam. You had no right to throw him out of the apartment. None. Zero.
He could have said something, and so I could have covered the rest of the rent before it was late.
He could have said a lot of things. You also should not have gone to the police and perjured yourself. That's all.
Deborah Pittman Page is suing her nephew, 21-year-old Chad Pittman, for a loan to get his car insured and for the cost to get the vehicle out of impound.
Miss Page, did you ever hear the saying, no good deed goes unpunished?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
This is your nephew?
Yes, it is.
According to your complaint, he fell on some hard times.
Correct.
And you offered to advance him the money to pay his car insurance.
Correct.
And he was supposed to pay you back.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you pay his insurance?
April 11th of 2006.
And how was he supposed to make the payments to you?
He was just starting a new job, and so he thought he could go ahead and pay me then. So he was living at home with his father and his stepmom.
Is that your brother?
Yes. So they had said that he had to have a registered and insured vehicle in order to move back in home. And so that's why we did this. And I paid the insurance company. I wrote a check for $1,432, and then he gave me $432 that he had. That way he was able to get registered and insured, and he moved back in.
And how many payments did he make?
Well, he paid the $432 initially, and then he paid another $100, and then about 6 months later he paid me $60.
Okay, young man, now tell me what happened.
What happened was...
Don't listen. Don't look down.
What happened was on the 12th of April, she did write a check. I did give her the $480.
We're past that. She
Okay.
wrote the check. You gave her $432, leaving a $1,000 balance. You paid her another $160 over a period of time.
No.
You didn't pay her anything.
I gave her more than $160.
Okay, how much did you give her, sir?
I brought the payment down to $840, which means I paid her... $160, okay. So I was wrong. I got arrested.
No. Look here. You got...
I got arrested.
When?
I got arrested on November 7th.
So between April 12th and November 7th, you gave her a total of $160.
Correct.
Why
But
is that?
in between times, I didn't have a job. I told her that I'll give you the money, but I also have to support myself at the same time. So I wasn't always able to give her as much as she had expected.
Well, how about anything?
Oh, I would give her something.
No, you didn't. You gave her $160. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, in 7 months.
In 7
months, if you gave her, let's say, $5 a week, which, look at me, look at me. It means going one less time to McDonald's, sir. It means getting one less Frosty Freeze. Mr. Pittman, on the 7th of November, you got arrested for what and where?
I got arrested in Amesbury, Massachusetts for possession of a firearm, a Class D substance.
What was the substance?
Weed.
Marijuana?
Yes. With the FID numbers filed off, and...
The FID numbers filed off the marijuana or the firearm?
No, the firearm. And then I was brought into Middleton.
You were stopped in your car?
Yeah.
The car that your aunt had insured?
Yes. And then it was impounded.
It was?
Oh, yeah, it was. It got impounded. She went to the...
How did she find out that your car was impounded?
Because my dad had found out that I was arrested. She found out. She wanted the car to take out, get the license plates off, turn them in, collect the past due, not the past due, but the amount
the
for
balance of the insurance.
Exactly.
So that she would at least have some money back.
Right. But she also wanted me to pay the $210. She also has my...
$210 for what?
For getting the car out of the impound.
Didn't you want the car anymore?
It didn't matter to me either way. I was going to be in Middleton for more than a year, so...
Listen to me. So at that point, it didn't matter to you that the car was an impound. What kind of car is this?
96 Ford Contour.
So you didn't care whether the car was an impound. As far as you were concerned, they could have turned it into a toaster.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But didn't you understand, sir, that by letting the car remain there, your aunt was stuck with this $840 payment that you owed her?
I had full intention on paying her, but I couldn't justify why am I paying her? She has my car, she has my title, threatened to forge my signature on my title, said that she could get $1,300 at a junkyard for it, tried signing it. She didn't seem to want either, so I just was like, well, make up your mind.
Can you get any money for his car?
It turns out that in Massachusetts you have to have an inspection sticker, and the car had already been rejected, so it had a rejection sticker on there because it needed some taillights, it needed some other underneath work, but I wasn't sure exactly what. But it also had a cracked windshield, so that was another $200 and some odd. So it turns out that the car wasn't worth what the Kelley Blue Book value on it was. So when he wanted to change the deal and just sign that over to me and say, well, you get to sell the car with for whatever, he couldn't understand that I didn't want to deal with selling the car, plus the car wasn't worth the money, and so I wanted him still to pay me the money he owed me. And he
Fabulous.
just didn't
Where is
understand.
the car now?
It's in the parking lot of my parents' house.
Where's the title to the car?
I have the title here.
May I have it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, we gave you the title, I assume, because you indicate that in your complaint, to hold as collateral.
Correct.
Mr. Pittman, Chad,
Yes,
that would be you, right?
that's me.
Guess what I have for you, Chad?
A title?
You know how quick and clever he is?
Sharp as a bowling ball.
Sharp as a bowling ball. Now you have the car. She wants her $840 and what she spent to get it out of impound.
I didn't ask her to get it out of impound. She went out to get it by herself.
Well,
I
let
was
me
in
ask you
Middleton
this
at the
question,
time.
Mr. Pittman. Let's follow your logic, sir. We're now talking about a substantial amount of time later, 10 months. Ultimately, you were going to either get your car back or be stuck with paying her $840. What I'm giving you the opportunity to do is to take the car now that you have the title, and you can sell it. Maybe you can sell it for junk. Maybe you can get $200 for it. Maybe you can get $300 for it. Or you can sign the car over to her. Do you understand?
Yeah, that was
Sign the car
original-
over to her, and you're still going to pay her $840. What's your pleasure, Mr. Pittman? Mr. Pittman, this is your choice. I'm going to see how smart a boy you are. You can either sign the car over to her now and pay her $840, or you can keep the car and pay her $840. What would you like to do?
Well, I'll keep the car. I'll give her the $840.
Perfect. Love it. Thank you
good.
very much, in addition to the towing. You got it?
Gotcha.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,050.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mary Freer says stepson Jonathan Freer owes for destroying her home and her car. Jonathan says his actions were a result of his drug addiction.
Miss Freer, the defendant is your stepson.
Yes.
How long were you married to his father?
20 years.
Did he live with you during any of that period of time?
Not until recently. He lived with his mother. We saw him until he was 5 years old, and then she basically stole him. And we didn't see him again until he was 18.
Well, your lawsuit says that there came a time when your stepson rented a house from you and your husband. It was a house that you and your husband owned. It was a rental property.
Yes.
And he was supposed to pay rent. He did for a while, then he sort of fell off with the rent. He also was using a car that belonged to who, you or your husband?
Myself.
And your husband, unfortunately, passed away this past summer. And when you went to the rental property, found that he had moved out, and the place was totally trashed.
Yes, it was.
And the car was likewise totally trashed.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want him to pay for that.
He should.
And his defense seems to be that if he had a debt to take care of the house, not the rent, just the condition of the house and the car, the debt was with his father, not with you. And when his father passed away, the debt vanished. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes.
You don't really believe that, do you?
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything funny. I guarantee you that by the time you're finished here, you will not be laughing. How old are you?
26.
How do you support yourself?
I work.
Doing what?
I install glass in buildings
When did you move into this rental property?
a couple of years ago.
Tell me when. Don't be smart and don't be smug. Are you a drug addict or an alcoholic?
I was.
When?
Back when I was living there.
Really? Both drugs and alcohol?
Yes.
See, I was being sort of facetious because I was going to say you had to be on drugs or alcohol or else you would know how many years ago you moved into this house. So you were an alcohol abuser and a drug abuser
Yes.
while you were living in the house.
Yes.
Are you still abusing drugs and alcohol?
No.
Did you go into rehab?
No.
You mean you just stopped?
Yeah.
You want to tell me how you did that and when?
Back in February of this year, I was stabbed and
By a stranger?
kind of. I really didn't know him. I was just partying with him.
So you were in the hospital for a while.
Yeah, well, just like one night. It wasn't really that bad. It was stabbed in the back. It just like punctured my lung just a little.
And?
And after that, my dad had a stroke and stuff, so I just kind of figured I need to start changing my life.
Well, that's a very good thing that you figured you had what we call in the trade an epiphany, a life-altering experience, a wake-up call, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
Don't be smart with me. I don't think you're cute. Now, if you have what we call an epiphany, a mind and a life-altering experience. That usually says you want to start doing the right thing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Try yes.
Yes.
And when you were living in this rental property, you'd stop paying rent because you were putting up your nose or in your veins or whatever you were earning. So you stopped paying rent, correct?
Correct.
And you stopped paying for the care of this car, correct?
Correct.
Then you had this experience. Don't you think that you should go back to your old life and say, I have to make certain amends for things that I did, like trashing this house?
No.
Why not?
My dad never really had a problem with it. I mean, they knew I was partying there. They knew I was drinking. They knew I was partying. They knew I had friends coming over.
Can I see pictures of the house, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Staying with friends.
What did I ask you that was funny?
Nothing.
Why would you trash a house like this, sir?
Just having a good time.
Are you the only child that your father had with your mother?
No.
How many other children did your father have with...
One.
Where is that child?
He kind of stays with my mom.
Does he stay with your mother because he takes care of her?
No.
She takes care of him?
Well, he stays in one of her apartments. I really don't talk to them that much.
Why not?
I really don't like my mom too much.
Did you like your father?
Yeah. Yes.
Did you respect your father?
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Well...
And you don't respect him now. Did I wipe the smile off your face? You don't respect him now, because if you respected him, you wouldn't have done this to his property. And if the excuse was that you were using drugs and alcohol, and therefore you were not in control of yourself, that's not an excuse. That's a reason that you would allow you and your friends to do this to his property. But now you've sobered up. So I don't think that you respect your father or his memory, sir.
Yeah, but
because if you did, then you would say, this property belonged to, at least in part, my father, and I'm disrespecting his memory by leaving it like a pig pen. I'm disrespecting who he was and how nice he was to me by saying to me, listen, we'll give you a home. You don't like your mother. Maybe she's a problem, but I want you to feel as if you have a home with us. Here's a place for you to live, and you take it and trash it. But then you get clean and sober, and you don't fix it. And there's no excuse for that if you want to do the right thing and turn your life around, Mr. Frere. We understand each other?
Yes.
We're not laughing anymore, are we?
No.
I see the estimates of what it's going to take to clean up this place. I doubt whether the jurisdiction of my court would cover it. It doesn't. All right, now tell me quickly about the car.
He didn't have a vehicle, so I let him use my vehicle. And when I found out he left, we went to the house and the car was in the driveway.
How did you find out that he moved out?
He told my daughter. My daughter speaks with her brother still, and he told my daughter that he was going to move out. She's the one who informed me that he was gone. Did you need to hear that from her?
No, I'm just going to give you some advice. You too. When somebody is a drug abuser, and he acknowledges that he was a drug abuser, and unless they take care of it, it's not going to go away. And his life-altering experience didn't, from what I'm hearing, alter the way he thinks. So you look like two nice young people. Keep your distance. I know you're looking like this. I'm telling you, for your own protection, keep your distance. Bad news. Okay. Can I see pictures of the car, please?
He came to us with some serious problems, and it took us a while, and it appeared that he had straightened his life out. He really was doing great. He had a great job, made good money, and that was why he rented the apartment, why we let him move in, because we figured that it was his family. He was going to take care of it just like we would have. And he did. For over a year, he did. And then I don't know if it was his father getting sick or what happened to him, but it all just hit the wall, and he reverted right back to what he knew. And, you know, what I'm left with is to pick up the mess.
Mrs. Frere, listen to me. When he came to you, he had some problems. Is that what you said?
That's exactly what I said.
And would those problems include substance abuse?
I'm sure it was. I couldn't prove it, but I would say.
And then he got a job, and he appeared to be okay.
He did very well.
And then he went back to drugs and alcohol.
Yep.
Did you hear what your mother said?
Yes.
Unless you take care of it once and for all, it's like an enemy that you wound over your shoulder. If you wound an enemy, that enemy can always come back to hurt you, right? Mm-hmm. That's drugs. You have to get rid of it. And he's not smart enough to get rid of it on his own. And he's never gone anywhere to help him get rid of it. So he's always going to go back to it. And he's going to suck you in if you let him. You understand?
Yes.
Good. So I'm glad you're working, sir. Good. And if I haven't been able to help you, that's too bad. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
David and Janelle Rennie claim Janelle's son, Keith Harvey, owes for car payments, insurance payments, parking tickets, and a loan for rent.
Mrs. Rennie, this is your son and your stepson, sir. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Rennie, it is your claim that Mr. Harvey owes you and your wife money for a series of loans that you made to him. And in addition, he owes you money for taking care of his 11-year-old son, who he left with you when he moved out.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harvey says that you volunteered to take care of his son, and that this money that both you and his mother gave him were gifts. That's your defense. And you're sticking to it.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are you?
32.
How many children do you have?
3.
How many live with you?
2.
How old are they?
5 and 3 months.
Is the mother of the 2 children also living with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you separated from her for a period of time?
Yes, Your Honor.
For how long?
Well, it's 5, 6 months.
And how much after you got back together again did she become pregnant?
How much more?
Immediately.
You moved
Yes.
back together when?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, what? I know that you moved back together. When is the question?
Trying to think.
You were living with your mother and a husband, with your 11-year-old son. Where's his mother?
She lives in Jacksonville, Florida.
Anything wrong with her?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have legal custody of him?
No, Your Honor.
Who does?
She does.
Well, why was he living with you? These are not hard questions, sir. You should be able to give me a quick answer.
She's a deadbeat mother.
Well, deadbeat mother means she doesn't pay any support. That's
She doesn't
different.
pay any support.
If she has legal custody, she's supposed to have him with her.
Yes, Your Honor.
But he wasn't with his mother. He was with you. My question was why?
Because his mother's home got burglarized, and I felt it was unsafe for him to live there.
So when did you take him?
I can't think exact the timing.
What year?
It was 2006.
Does she have other children?
Yes, she does.
Does she ask you to come and take him?
Well, I felt it was best in his interest.
I didn't ask you what you felt. I asked if his mother, who was his custodian, asked you to come and take him. Is that
Yes,
right?
she did.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if he's not thinking right.
She demanded someone come get him.
In what month in 2006 did...
It was actually 2005. It was September.
And he came and brought his son to you?
In the beginning, his son lived with my daughter, his sister, and then in January 2006, he brought him into the home with us because my daughter can no longer take care of him.
Is he a problem?
He isn't with us, but he's very argumentative, and I think it's just the way he's been, from going back and forth. And his mother is not a very good mother. She never gave him a lot of attention and stuff, so he can be difficult.
Well, when you have 2 non-parents, it's hard to grow up yourself.
That's exactly right.
I'm just curious, Mr. Harvey. Well, you don't know dates. Your mother will tell me. When did he move out of your house?
He actually physically moved out of our house in February '06.
Leaving his son with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he still there?
He's still there.
How's he doing?
He's doing great.
Why don't you just keep him there?
I think that's what we're going to do.
Have you gone to court for custody?
Yes, ma'am. We have temporary guardianship and custody right now until the juvenile district makes it permanent. And that can be any time now.
Who pays support for him?
No one at this time.
Not him?
His father was paying support up until July of '06, which automatically comes out of his paycheck and goes through the court system, and the mother was receiving it, and she was keeping it. She was not giving it to us for the child. I have an appointment through child support recovery. We've already did one appointment. They're going in front of the judge, actually.
You are?
Child. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you should get that money retroactively.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine.
It
So
will
I
be
don't have to
paid.
deal with that. Look at how this is nice. It's going to be coming out of his pay retroactively to the day he stopped paying child support.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, perfect. So now we can move on to the other loans. Now, tell me about the other money, Mr. Rennie.
Good morning, ma'am. We financed a vehicle for him. When he went to jail in 2004...
What did he go to jail for?
Domestic violence charge.
Against whom?
The girlfriend he's living with currently. The vehicle was refinanced at that time. The payments went on. He was making the payments. The June payment was not made. The June payment came out of my son's 13-year-old savings account because our bank takes it from where there's money. July's payment, he made half of. And he came to us in July and said, I'm going to be getting my own place in August. So we said, you know, contingent, you were supposed to come take your son in August to come live with you. School starts and he can be in the house and all that good stuff. August came, and I went to bring him there, and he refused him. He told his son, I can't take you, I can't afford you right now. So rather than make a stink, we just
That's what you told your son?
I didn't refuse him. I told them that the timing wasn't right at the time, and as soon as I get on my feet, he'll be living with me. I was just trying to get ahead, Your Honor.
You don't get ahead by making another baby. You got enough babies. You had enough babies before you had this one. How many car payments did you make for him?
We made June's, the other half of July's, and August and September.
What arrangements did you make with him to repay you?
He'd been paying it all up until that point.
I understand that, sir. But once you pay, unless you have a contract with him to repay you, that's a gift. What about the car payments, sir? Why didn't you make the car payments? Too busy making a baby?
No, Your Honor.
Well, what were you busy doing, sir, instead of making your car payments? You were using the car, weren't you?
I've given my mom tax money out of my taxes, which I think should clear up that debt.
When?
It was in a period of 2 years.
When, I said?
In 2004, 2005.
Listen to me. Money out of your taxes 3 years ago, I'm not interested in. I'm interested in car payments that they made for you in 2006, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why didn't you make your own car payments?
I got behind on it.
What were you doing with the money?
Paying.
What was your girlfriend doing? Nothing. Okay. What else, Mr. Rennie?
Car insurance from February to August of '06 was not paid, in total about $600.
Well, why did you pay for the insurance? Why didn't you just cancel the insurance, put a boot on the car?
The insurance was on our policy, and we were just trying to help him.
I understand that, but he didn't pay it. So why didn't you just go repossess the car?
We figured having a car was necessary to have a job to take care of the children. We tried to help every step of the way.
I understand that. That's a gift, not a loan.
Well, we had to improve his policy on the car because he's a courier. So we had to add extra stuff. So he came to us.
And said what?
And said, Mom, David, I need you to add these extra coverages so that I'm covered under my job. And I will pay the insurance.
But he didn't.
But he didn't.
So why did you continue to pay it?
Well, we canceled that in August.
In August.
August.
Good.
So for July and August, we added more coverage.
Okay, and how much was the additional coverage for July and August?
It was an extra $40 a month.
What else?
In September of '06, my wife received a call from the police department. The vehicle was downtown.
Shh. You had the discussion with the police?
Yes, ma'am.
As a result of that discussion, what did you do?
His girlfriend was driving the truck. She had gotten numerous amount of parking tickets, which we didn't know, and they had put a boot on the automobile.
Sounds perfect to me.
So I had to meet the police officers downtown to keep the car from being towed into the lot and having to pay extra storage fees and stuff. Had to pay the tickets and got the truck released back to us.
So where's the truck now?
We have it.
Perfect. So you have it. You have another car?
Yes, Your Honor.
From where did you get another car?
Honda?
When?
3 months ago.
Where'd you get the money from? Why are you looking at me like I'm speaking some sort of foreign tongue?
I didn't need any money down. My sister helped me out, and she co-signed for the car.
Your sister?
Yes, Your Honor.
That your daughter?
Yes, ma'am. We tried to talk to her. We told her, you know, we still have the payments from the truck that we financed. It's $320 a month car payment. We still have to make that payment.
What else?
The tickets totaled $412. And in August, my wife loaned him money for his first month's rent of $980.
Why did you do that?
I don't know why I did it. He calls me, makes me feel bad. So I met him and I helped him.
I assume by now you've learned your lesson.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you tell your mother you would pay her back the rent money?
No, Your Honor.
You didn't. What did you tell her?
She told me she'd help me out at the time.
Were you working?
Yes, Your Honor. Courier service.
And how much were you earning?
Roughly $700 a week.
And your girlfriend?
She doesn't work right now.
Why not?
because my son's only 3 months old.
Well, when you're not working and you're home, you take care of your son. Let your girlfriend go out to work.
That's what we're trying to do.
That's not a try. That's what you have to do. Time you grew up, sir, you made 3 children in your life. 3. That makes you a big boy. Act like a big boy. Don't act like an idiot. And I don't know if you're doing a stupid act with me or if this is really the way you are. I'm not sure. But I know that you owe your mother and your stepfather $1,472. That's all. Step out.
Alice Ramos is suing neighbor D'Angelo Trent for damages to her car. Alice says D'Angelo's son, 9-year-old D'Angelo Jr., crashed into her vehicle with his bike.
Mrs. Ramos, it is your complaint that this little boy right over here was on his bicycle, fell off of his bicycle, and scratched your car. You want his father to pay for the scratch on the car. Is that right? And Mr. Trent's chance. When did this happen?
June 19th of 2004.
Were you at home at the time?
Yes, it was a Saturday. We had had a yard sale at my residence, and this child here had been riding his bicycle the better part of the day, up and down.
What's your name?
D'Angelo Trent Jr.
D'Angelo?
Yes.
Did you know him before?
I've seen him
June
in the
19th?
neighborhood, but I didn't know whose child he was.
But you had seen him before?
Oh, yes.
For how long?
He's lived in our neighborhood as long as I can recall.
So you know him. This isn't
Right.
a child who you hadn't seen 100 times before.
Oh, definitely.
Alice Ramos says neighbor 9-year-old D'Angelo Trent Jr. damaged her car when he crashed his bicycle. D'Angelo's father, D'Angelo Sr., claims his son doesn't own a bike.
So what did you see when he fell off the bike?
He bumped into the bumper of my car, and he fell off his bicycle. At that point, I was not concerned about my car. Myself, my nephew Andrew, and my niece all ran out to the street to see if he was okay. He seemed okay, but he fell awfully hard for how quickly he jumped back up.
And subsequently you found a scratch on your car?
When we first checked, we saw what looked like rubber scraping on the bumper of the car. And I told the little boy, before he took off, I told him, that's okay, this can be buffed out, you can go. So he jumped on his bike and he took off, more scared than hurt, I think. And 10 minutes later, he comes back with another young man on the handlebars. And he and his friend got off, and he started to show the friend what he had done. Well, unbeknownst to us, we were more concerned in the beginning about his welfare. We didn't really inspect the car. I saw the rubber scrapes on the bumper. But he's showing him another area of the car which we had not seen. And there is a scrape on the trunk.
You have a picture of it?
No, I don't.
Why don't you have a picture of it?
As I go on to the story, you'll see why.
Okay.
There was a good gash to where the whole paint and primer, everything came off right down to the metal. And it was right at the height about where the handlebars are.
So what did you do next?
I said, did you do this with your bike? And he said, he nodded his head yes. I said, well, then you can't leave. I need to talk to you. He looked at me wide-eyed, scared, started to cry, jumped back on his bike, and took off, and left his little friend there. I asked his friend, do you know who this little boy is? I've seen him in the neighborhood many times, but I don't know who he is. And he says, yes, that's D'Angelo's son. And I said, D'Angelo, I know D'Angelo. I've known D'Angelo the father since he was knee-high to a grasshopper, since he grew up in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So I said, can you take me to his house? So he walked.
Okay, so let's move on a little bit. Ms. Ramos, did Mr. D'Angelo say that he would take care of the problem?
Absolutely.
And that's why you had it fixed and you didn't take a picture? I'm just running ahead because that sounds like what you're going to tell me.
I didn't take a picture because I had to call the police because we could not locate him, the father.
Why?
Because there was no one at the house. The house was all opened up, windows, doors, everything was opened up at the house. There was nobody there.
Okay, so when the police came, he said he would fix...
He told the police officers he would take care of it between me and him.
Okay, stop. And you had it fixed. How much did it cost you to have it fixed?
$300.
You have a receipt?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. You weren't there.
I wasn't there.
He was there.
He was there.
How long have you known Mrs. Ramos?
22 years.
She a nice lady?
Nice lady.
Seems like a lovely lady.
Yeah.
Seems like a caring lady. Is concerned about your son?
Right.
More concerned about your son than her car?
Right.
Why don't you pay her the $300?
Because my son doesn't own a bike. He was on the peg.
He was riding a bike that day. Now, Mr. Trent, You seem like an intelligent man, sir.
I am.
If you had to make a choice as to whether Mrs. Ramos or your 9-year-old son was telling you the truth, who would you pick? Who would you pick, sir? I haven't even spoken to him. I know who I would pick.
I know the child that was riding the bike, and I know he's nowhere in court.
Listen
So I
to
don't
me,
know why my
sir.
son's here.
You weren't there. Mrs. Ramos, who you've known for 22 years,
Right.
says that your son was the one who was riding the bike. You weren't home. So I'm going to go back to my original question. If you had to make a choice as to whether your 9-year-old son, D'Angelo, was telling the truth, or Mrs. Ramos was telling the truth, who would you pick?
I would pick my son, of course.
Well, then you would pick wrong. Your son, and you weren't there, was riding the bike. Look at me, D'Angelo. Isn't that right?
No.
Baloney.
Judge, then you ask her if there were two people there was a person riding and he was on the pegs.
No.
Please ask her.
She said he was riding the bike. Is that what you told me?
That's right.
Was there 2 children there?
No. When the incident happened, there was only 1 child on the bike.
When he came back, she said there were 2 people. He was riding and there was another child on the handlebars. And then when she went out there and confronted them, he got scared and left the other kid there. And if he's not telling you that story,
The other child
I
told me
take
the
him out to
story.
the barn. Judgment to the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Catherine Harrison says ex-boyfriend Claude Johnson owes for a trip to Canada and for an assault.
Miss Harrison, you and Mr. Johnson had a relationship that is now over.
Correct.
According to your complaint, some time ago you took a vacation together. You were supposed to split the cost of the vacation, and he still owes you for some of that bill. In addition, after you separated, there was some altercation involving Mr. Johnson, and you claim he assaulted you. You want to be compensated for your pain and suffering as a result of the assault. Mr. Johnson says what was left over from the vacation was a gift, because you said that you would take care of the extra expenses, and that he never assaulted you. As a matter of fact, it was quite the other way around. So, when did this love affair start, and when did it terminate?
We had met in February of '04 while working together, and we had broken up this March.
And when was the vacation that you took?
In February of '05.
Where were you going?
I had purchased Lakers Piston tickets for him for Christmas, so we had went to Detroit, we had watched the game, and we had agreed before we left, everything would be 50-50.
Were you living together at the time?
Yes, we were. So we had went to Detroit, and then we had went to Canada for a few days after that.
Well, is it the Detroit trip or the Canada trip that he owes you for?
It's a combination of all of it. There's actually, the total trip balance was $1,468. Therefore, his half of that would have been $734, which he's paid $354.50 and owes $379.50 as the remainder.
So let's take care of that first. Yes?
She's not telling the truth. I was told that, we would go to the game. She said she's going to buy me the tickets. I'm like, okay. She's talking about she wants to go to Canada to go gamble. I'm like, I don't have the money to go gamble in Canada. I really don't want to go. She says, well, we'll put it on my credit card. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. So I'm like, okay, let's go. I agreed to pay her money for the trip to Detroit, at the game and everything. But then,
Well, how much was that part of the trip, Mr. Johnson?
Well, the tickets were free. She bought
No.
them.
Listen to me.
Okay.
How much was your half of the trip to Detroit?
I really don't know. I paid for the hotel, drinks, food, stuff like that.
No, just a second.
Okay.
Was that all put on her credit card?
Well, I gave her the cash. I don't know if she paid with her credit card or whatever. That's on her.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, I have receipts, credit card statements, bank statements from all of the money that was spent. Definitely.
How much was spent from Detroit? I'm just curious.
From Detroit, we've got a charge of $64.59 in the hotel, and then he had bought some drinks at the game itself. That was
well,
all
that's a
from Detroit.
small amount of money. Is that the only bill from Detroit?
That's the only bill from Detroit.
That's what I'm saying.
But he paid.
Just a second.
He's paid $354.
Just a second.
Okay.
When I say just a second, that means you have to stop. The only two bills from Detroit were a $65 bill from a hotel and a couple of drinks. Yes. Is that right?
I guess, according to her bank statements. I
then what did you give her $354 for, sir?
I don't recall how much money I gave her. We had other things going on. You know, like it gets really complicated.
I'm going to uncomplicate it. You owe $379.50 for the rest of the vacation you took together. You did go, and if you didn't want to go, you should have said, if you want to go to Canada, go alone.
But it was.
I'm speaking. Did you go to Canada?
Yeah, it was a gift on her.
I'm speaking. I just answer my question.
Okay.
Don't volunteer anything unless I ask you to volunteer, which will be never. Did you go to Canada?
Yes, I did.
Did you sleep in a hotel?
Yes, I did.
Did you eat food?
Yes.
You owe a $379.50.
Oh, man.
Now let's get to the assault. You broke up in March of 2005, and when do you allege this assault took place?
June 13th.
Tell me about it.
I had went over to the apartment which we previously had shared together to talk about some previous matters that were unhandled.
What?
It was money for rent that was due after I'd moved out that he had not paid, and then I in turn had to pay.
Well, what was your agreement as far as moving out and continuing to pay the rent?
The agreement was that he was going to take care of the rent since he did not wish to leave the apartment, which I would have, you know, stayed if he would have left and taken care of everything myself. Okay. Anyhow, he had moved in some roommates as well.
So you went over there because you were held responsible for what month's rent?
For the month of June, as well as the first 2 months we had lived there were half price, so they violated the lease that we had owed that money to. It was $1,300 that I had to pay.
Why did you pay it?
Well, I was buying a house, and I could not have that eviction on my credit if it was not paid.
Were you evicted from that apartment?
No.
Did you stay to the end of the lease?
No. The lease still isn't up yet.
All right. So in June, you went to see him about some money that you thought he owed you.
Well, I had went over, and he was actually outside already, so he had just come up to the car. So we were talking through the window.
It's not true. She's lying.
Have you ever been in court before,
No,
Mr.
I have
Johnson?
not. No.
Since you have not, I'm going to give you a kindergarten course about court, especially mine. One party testifies, I ask questions. When she's finished testifying, you will be given an opportunity to testify.
Okay.
We don't shout out. This is not a discotheque. This is not a give and take. This is an organized, orderly process. Do we understand each other, sir?
Yes.
I don't have to explain this to you again, do I?
No.
Good. Keep going.
Okay, so he was speaking to me through the window of the car, and he was under the assumption that he thought I had taken money from him earlier that morning when I went to get my mail. So he kept bringing that up, you know, well, I don't care about all this money. Where's my $14? So he reaches in the car, takes my purse. I grab a hold of it before he gets it completely across me because I had it right here at my side. So when I wouldn't let go, he starts hitting me in my chest. And so in turn, you know, I let go of the purse. So I got out of the car and, you know, I was asking him, you know, can I have my purse back, you know, whatever. And he's pushing me and shoving me, pushing me, you know, back from him. So, you know, he goes into the house and gets away from the situation. So immediately I had dialed 911 to, you know, reach the police. And they went to the door, you know, and got him outside and talked to him as well. I have the police run log as well.
I want to see a hospital record.
Okay, well, I didn't go to the hospital.
Doctor's report.
I didn't go to the doctor.
Get over it. Whatever pushing and shoving was done over the pocketbook was no big deal. Don't make it into a big deal. Then I begin to doubt your veracity. We understand each other?
Sure.
Good. Did you think that she took money from your house?
I know that she took money from my house.
And how do you know that, Mr. Johnson?
Well, I do have two roommates. My roommates were sleeping. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning when she came in my house. In the meantime, I had money on my table in my room.
$14.
$14, but it was all the money that I had at the time. So, you know, it's like $1 million to me because it's all I had. Anyways, I go downstairs. You know, I talk to her about whatever, you know, the money situation, the rent, da-da-da. Okay, she says to me, she says, how much money do you have? I'm like, well, not enough, you know.
Well, you're living there. Why don't you have money for the rent,
well,
Mr. Johnson?
This is about, I have got money. I had, like I said.
Listen to me, sir. Don't double talk me. It's June. Where's your rent money? You and your two sleeping roommates.
We had the rent money for the month, right? The thing is we were being charged extra money for the rent. Instead of being $600, we were being charged $1,200. In all reality, we were moving. She just didn't know it yet, so I wasn't going to give her anything, you know. Now.
So you're going to stiff her on the landlord?
No. I was going to pay it. She's It's big. It's hard to explain it. You know, it would take a long time. Anyway, let's get to the point. She goes upstairs. She says, I'm going to go look for some money.
Have you? And so she took you $14. You went upstairs. You didn't see your $14, so you figured it was in her purse. When she came back later, you went into the purse. Fine.
Fine.
Who paid the landlord the $1,200?
She did.
Have you paid her back?
No. No. And as a matter of fact...
Are you on drugs?
Huh?
Are you on drugs?
No.
Then just answer me. I asked you a simple question. I said if you paid her back. The answer is no. One no will be sufficient.
The answer is no. I shouldn't have to pay her back. Yeah.
Well, she didn't file a counterclaim. I'm just curious. Why didn't she ask for that money?
I was told I should handle that in the local Franklin County courts.
That's too bad. In any event, he owes you $379.50 for the vacation, which he agreed to pay for, and he did not completely pay for. I don't believe he assaulted you to any extent that requires compensation by a court. He was angry, but I don't believe he hurt you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $379.50. And Ms. Harrison, let me explain this to you. You should thank your lucky stars that you got out when you did.
Yes, thank you.
Good, thank you.
All is excused. You may step out.
Carolyn Doyle is suing her ex-boyfriend, Matthew Peterson, for a loan to fix his teeth. Matthew says he helped Carolyn fix her house.
Miss Doyle, you used to live with this gentleman. How long did you live with him?
Matthew and I started dating July 4th of 1999, and he lived with myself and my children off and on for a total of about 2 years. 1 year, then moved out, then moved back in for a year, then moved back out.
And during that time, which we'll pinpoint better later, you claim that without your authorization, he forged your name as a co-signer to a loan for some dental work that he wanted.
I don't know if he ever signed my name. He did open an account and took out a dental loan using my Social Security number, and it shows up on my credit record as
Okay, but you never signed it.
No, I did not.
Well, so somebody signed your name to it.
I never saw the documents, Your Honor. Okay.
I assume he has the documents somewhere in his pocket. In any event, he didn't pay the loan?
Correct.
And it's negatively impacted on your credit?
Correct.
You no longer are together, and you want him to pay the bill?
Correct.
Smile pretty, Mr. Peterson. What was wrong with your teeth?
2 porcelain crowns on my front teeth, and both of them were fractured. And
So it was cosmetic work.
more or less, without them, though, I just have 2 posts there,
Not attractive, but clearly you can live that way.
I suppose.
Now, when did you want to replace these 2 porcelain crowns?
I was living with it cracked for probably about a year or so, and then in the process of chewing gum, it completely broke off one afternoon, and I was left with just the post that goes under the crown, my real tooth, and it was somewhat of an emergency at that point. You know, the following morning, the dentist squeezed me in, and
Now, were you and Miss Doyle living together at the time?
no.
Were you still seeing each other
Yes.
exclusively?
Yes.
Any reason why you weren't living together?
We lived together when I owned my condo, and I wanted to flip that into a single-family home because I have 3 kids, and I wanted him to have a nice home with a backyard in a neighborhood, and he didn't agree with my decision to sell the condo. I was buying it on my own. He wasn't buying it with me, but he disagreed with my decision to sell the condo and buy the house. So when I
Well,
sold...
just my own curiosity, why?
I think he thought things were fine the way they were, and so why move?
Okay, so that's when he moved out, but you still continued to see each other.
Correct.
So now the dentist squeezes you in August.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm listening.
Okay, I went to the dentist's office in the morning upon looking at the other front tooth that was fractured as well, so they said, we have to take care of both of them. I couldn't cover it on such short notice, so they said, well, you can go ahead and apply for this in-house credit we have here, which I did, was denied. They said, do you have a co-signer? At that point, I called Carolyn from the office, and she said, yeah, here's my number, here's the Social Security number, and I'll be back, you know, I'll have to go down there and actually sign the document at a later date, which I don't know if that ever happened or not. And they proceeded with the work, and that was it.
Why didn't you pay the bill?
I was making monthly payments.
Now you're looking at your shoes.
I made the first couple payments, and then I came late on one. She said, I can't have this affecting my credit payments, and then she said, let me just pay off the whole loan, and you can just pay me. And then when we ultimately ended up breaking up, walked out, and that was the end of that. And I had done considerable amounts of work on her house, remodeling, fixing it up,
Which
paintings.
I paid him for.
Just a second. Please don't interrupt.
I'm sorry.
And I just kind of figured the whole thing was a wash. It was easier just to get out of each other's lives and move on.
So you mean you stuck Miss Doyle, who is a single parent, raising 3 children, with bills for your cosmetic dentistry? I mean, you expect me to accept that, sir? And you think that I am not going to humiliate you in front of 10 million people? Go ahead.
Upon our last conversation when I left, I was served with papers days later, so there was never any opportunity to discuss any kind of payment plan. She never asked me for the money.
Why should she have to ask you for anything? How old are you?
32.
You work?
Yes, ma'am.
You have children?
No.
So whatever work you do, you just manage to take care of yourself,
Correct.
right? Now, what about Miss Doyle? Does she work?
Yes, she does.
And she takes care of 3 children?
Yes, she does.
And she runs a house? Let me ask you a question. When you were living in the house, did she have household help?
No, myself.
Did she have, yeah, I know how helpful you are. Did she have household help?
No,
Who did the laundry?
she did.
Who cleaned the bathrooms?
She did.
Who had a full-time job?
She did.
Who had 3 children?
She does.
Who had 2 cracked porcelain crowns?
That's me.
Are you embarrassed?
When you lay it out like that, yes, I am. But
Well, if your mother didn't lay it out feel like that, I'm going to lay it out feel like that. How much was your dental work?
all said and done, approximately $2,700.
How much of that did you pay?
About $300.
What kind of car do you drive?
Ford truck,
What year?
2000.
Were you making payments on it in 2004?
Yes.
Were you paying rent in 2004?
Yes.
You get where I'm going?
Yes, I do.
Peterson. Anything else you want to say?
I'd like to add just the extent of the work I did around her house. It was a verbal agreement.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Peterson. I just asked you a few questions. When you were living together, did you take a shower?
Yes,
Who cleaned the bathroom?
she did.
When you were living together, did you change your underwear at least every other day?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did the laundry?
She did.
You get
Not
my,
exclusively.
You get my drift?
I get your drift.
I won't even go into other more intimate details, sir, but I can almost guarantee you this. Believe me, you got the better end of the bargain. She knows what I mean. So do most of the other women. You owe her $2,400. Pay it. Thank you. That's all.
Jessica Lager says former friends Brent and Nick Boots vandalized her car by jumping on the hood and...
Thank you, Bert. Miss Lager, these 2 young men used to be friends of yours, and it is your claim that some time ago they vandalized your car while they were probably drunk, acting like fools. What's your last name?
Boots.
And yours?
Boots.
Are you brothers?
Yes, we are.
The Boots brothers?
Yep. Yeah.
You ought to make a movie out of it. Boots brothers. They say it wasn't them. When did this happen, Miss Lager?
On my 21st birthday, June 3rd, 2006.
And where was your car at the time?
It was at my boyfriend's mother's house, Denell the Foley's.
That would be you?
Yes.
Could you stand up? Because you weren't there.
Correct, I was not there.
When had you parked your car in front of your boyfriend's mother's house?
Well, I was letting her borrow it for quite some time because her vehicle was getting fixed at the time.
What kind of car did you have?
It's a 2001 Nabira Daewoo.
Could you keep your voice up? I'm old.
It was a 2001 Nabira Daewoo.
What is that?
It's a 4-door silver
Nabira?
vehicle. Nabira.
Where is that made?
I believe Korea, but I'm not sure.
I never heard of it. I'm so pleased that you didn't. I'm sure it's a lovely car.
It was a lovely car.
Ms. Foley, do you remember June 3rd, 2006?
Yes.
I knew you were home on June 3rd,
Yes.
2006. Which one of the Boots boys is going to speak?
I will.
And what is your first name?
Brent.
And yours?
My name's Nick.
No, I think I want Nick to speak. Now, Nick, how far do you live from Miss Foley?
Only like 2 blocks.
You have any reason to be near Miss Foley's house?
I'm best friends with their kid.
Keep your voice up, Nick.
I'm best friends with their son,
What's her son's name?
Bart.
Is that person here today?
Nah, he's not.
Your younger brother?
Yeah, it was my younger brother.
How long have you been friends?
Since I was like 2.
Tell me about June 2006.
Well,
No. Don't look there. Don't look there.
Well, we were at her house and... Sorry. We were at her house, like, having a party or whatever, chilling. Just a get-together, I could
How many
say.
people were there?
Just like 4 of us.
Which 4? The 2 Boots boys?
Her. And then my girlfriend was there, and then her son was there.
There were 5 of you there. That would be 5. Let's count
Or
them.
other than me.
Nick, you want to count them? That would be 5 altogether, right? And when had you started chilling?
I'm not sure what time it was.
Around 9 or so, I'd say. 8 or 9.
And then what happened, Nick?
We were just drinking and whatnot, and then we left.
Drinking. What were you drinking?
Vodka.
Where did you get the vodka from?
I believe.
No! Don't speak unless I speak to you. I want Nick. Don't speak. Where did you get the vodka from?
I believe it was from her, because it was
From
her
who?
21st birthday. Jessica.
Was she home?
No.
Well, where did you get the vodka from?
We met up with them earlier on that day.
And she gave you a bottle of vodka?
Well, she purchased it for us. We gave her the money.
So you gave Miss Lager the cash, and she went into a liquor store and purchased how much vodka?
A liter.
A liter. That's a big bottle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty big.
And what were you mixing the liter with?
We were just taking shots and drinking pop.
Shots and pop.
Shots and pop, yes.
And then what happened?
Nothing. We all had fun, and then once the night was over, we all went home.
I didn't see Miss Lager's car. No. Miss Lager, did you purchase vodka for them?
No, I did not. No, I do not purchase vodka for underage minors.
Why do you think worry?
To make it look good for themselves.
Nah. They could have just said, they found it. So I believe that you purchased it for them.
It was my 21st birthday. Why would I purchase alcohol for them?
I have no idea, because they were with your boyfriend's little brother.
I wasn't even near them all day. I was with my mother all day.
Okay. Miss Foley, tell me what you saw on June 3rd with regard to the Boots boys and Miss Lager's car.
I was at home. My son Bartley came up late that night and said, Mother, Brent and Nick are out kicking in Jesse's car. You need to come out and make him stop. So I went down, I looked out the landing. Brent was on the hood of the car, the roof of the car.
Brent, why couldn't you let Nick go on the hood of the car?
So I went down 2 more flights of stairs. By the time I got out there, Brent was off of the car, standing by the passenger mirror. Nick was standing in front of the car trying to kick the headlight. And he had stated to me that he had kicked the headlight and it didn't break. And Brent said he kicked the mirror off, but it didn't come off all the way. And I asked him why they were doing that, and they were mad at Jessica, I guess, at the time. So
why were you mad at Jessica?
We were mad at Jessica, but...
Well, tell me why you were mad at her. I just want to know why you were mad at her.
She stole a digital camera from my ex-girlfriend out of our house.
Oh, then I don't believe that she bought you alcohol. There you go. See what happened? If you were mad at her, why would you give her money to buy you alcohol on the same day?
She was always around anyways.
Oh.
Because I used to be best friends with him over there, her boyfriend.
We all hung out every day.
Now, she's the mother of your really good friend, right?
Yes.
So you know her for a long time.
Most of my
You
life.
go to her house? Put your hand down. You go to her house?
Every day, practically.
She sometimes gives you a sandwich? You know?
I eat over there occasionally, I could say.
So you think there's any reason why she would lie about you?
No, I wouldn't see a reason why she would.
Why would she lie about her son's best friend, who she sees every day of his life, who she's very good to? Why would she lie about him?
I don't know.
Do you understand my problem here, Nick?
Yes, I do.
You know where I'm coming from?
Sort of, yeah.
Are you twins?
No.
Who's older?
I'm older.
What about your older brother here? Did he ever go over to Miss Foley's house?
Yep.
Eat at her house?
We didn't really know much people in the area, so we were there all the time.
And Miss Foley was always nice to you?
Most of the time, yes.
Could you think of any reason why she would tell such a horrendous lie about you vandalizing a car that she was driving? Huh?
Maybe because Jessica's going to give her some money for it or something.
No. Then you would have to say that she's a liar and a thief.
She is.
Miss Foley?
Oh, not Miss Foley, but Jessica.
I'm talking about Miss Foley.
No, she's not a thief.
Miss Foley is the one who identified you, not Miss Lager. You want to look at Miss Foley and tell her she's a liar?
On this
Nick!
point, yes.
You want to look at Miss Foley and tell her she's a liar? You followed your brother.
Yeah.
No, say this. Miss Foley, you're a liar.
I wish she wouldn't lie, that's what.
Uh-huh. Evidently, you were a better friend than your older brother, because you couldn't say it. Now, when you do something wrong, you're supposed to fess up. Now, it's possible that you two morons don't remember, because you were drinking a liter of vodka, what you did on the night of June 3rd. That's possible. How old are you?
I'm 19.
And you?
21.
Can I see an estimate on fixing your car and photographs, please? Are you still friendly with her younger son?
Not really.
Was he also involved? Well, you don't know. Was your youngest son involved in this?
He didn't. Nope.
Was he? Just a second.
No, he did not do anything to the car.
Did you want to say something?
I was going to say I thought you were talking about him, but I am friends with her younger son, yes.
No, I asked if her youngest son did anything to this car.
No, he wasn't there. He was upstairs the whole time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Did you hear what he said? He said no, he wasn't there. He was upstairs all the time. You just let him go and go and go, and after a while they just, you know.
See, they'll sign off.
They just sign off on it, right?
It was in an accident.
Yeah, her
too,
car was in an
previously.
accident before that, and it was all dented, and she was trying to say that we did all that when it couldn't
How much
possibly.
did you do?
I didn't do nothing.
Well, yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Now, if you said to me, listen, we got a little drunk, and we acted stupid around the car, but a lot of this damage was done before.
This stuff
I'll talk
happens
to you.
all the time in our area.
What, that you jump on the hood of a car?
No. Vandalism.
I asked you a question. Your brother couldn't say it. If Miss Foley identified you two boys who were lifelong friends of one of her children, there would have to be a reason. Because when people identify someone who's caused damage to their property, they want the right people punished. They don't want the wrong people punished. They want the right people to pay for the damage. Now, if she had some axe to grind with you, I could understand it. But you've given me no motive for her to lie about it.
She wasn't even there. This is completely false and erroneous. And
Yeah. No, you're erroneous.
no.
You're erroneous and irrelevant. Erroneous and
And the
irrelevant.
car's not even worth that much to be.
You're absolutely right. How much did you pay for the car?
Around $7,000.
Okay, well, I'm not going to give you $11,000 to fix it.
No, I don't.
No. You could go buy yourself a new car.
Car can't even drive down the road straight. You let go of the wheel and you'll
Listen,
be in the
you
ditch.
couldn't walk straight. That's not up to you, young man. That's not up to you. When you damage somebody's property, you take it as you take it. That's it. And when you act like a fool, that's why they don't let people drink until they're 21 years old, because even 21-year-olds are morons. 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds are double morons. They shouldn't even be allowed out of the house after 9 o'clock at night. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Wanda Burr is suing her neighbor, Juanita Gracia, for the cost to fix her car and for vandalism to her home. Wanda says the culprit is Juanita's son, 14-year-old Alberto Lopez.
You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Oh, no.
Gentlemen, stand up, please. No, you sit.
Sit down. All right, Miss Burr, this is your son. Miss Garcia, this is your son. Neither of you were present on the day that Miss Garcia's son was in the driver's seat of your car and caused damage to it. And that's what this lawsuit is about. You believe that Miss Garcia is responsible for her son's actions and should pay for the damage to your car. Miss Garcia says that it wasn't her son's fault, that your son was there the whole time, and if you want to hold somebody responsible, you should hold your son responsible. Right? Right. Okay. What's your first name?
Casey McDavid.
I want you to keep the voice up. Are you frightened here today?
No, ma'am.
You're a little nervous?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to change that. On what day were you in your mother's car?
He was not in the vehicle, Your Honor.
Where were you?
Me and my friends were on the computer, and I went to the bathroom. I came out. He took the keys off my door, and I seen the car go past the window, and I went out, and I seen him hit the tree.
You saw him.
I seen him get in my car.
Where were the keys?
They were on the door.
Of what room?
Of the front door.
And where's your computer?
In the living room.
The computer's next to the phone. Sorry.
Were you there?
No, ma'am.
Keep your mouth closed. So you were on the computer in the living room.
Yes, ma'am.
And where were your friends?
They were on the computer with me.
How many friends?
3.
Who are they?
Alberto, Brandon, and Dwayne.
What's Brandon's last name?
I don't know.
What's Dwayne's last name? Is he still your friend?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I haven't talked to him
Since when?
since the accident.
And what about Brandon? Have you spoken to him?
No, ma'am.
Why haven't you spoken to them since the accident, Casey?
Ever since the accident, I just lost touch.
Why? They were in the room with you on the computer, right?
Right.
They weren't near the car, so why would you stop being their friend?
I just haven't talked to him in a while.
Okay, now let me hear your version of what happened.
Me, Brendan, and Dwayne were sitting on the living room couch. I was next to Casey looking on the computer with him. Me and Brendan discussed getting in the car and listening to the music, and the keys were on the desk of the computer, not hanging. I took the keys in front of Casey. He didn't say anything. Me and Brendan went into the car, started the car.
Brendan, too?
Brendan was in the car. We started the car and started listening to music. I switched gears in the car in reverse. Casey came out and just stood there and watched us.
Casey came out?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he say to you?
I don't know if he said anything, but he just stood there watching us. And I backed the car, and I guess...
Why did you do that?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know. He's taken the car out before. It's not like it was the first time he's done it.
He didn't do anything.
Well, that we've done it, he's let us drive before. And I started backing up the car. I was going to go anywhere. And then Brendan got scared and opened the passenger door and jumped out. And that's when the door hit the tree. I stopped the car and moved it back forward. And we noticed the damages to the car.
Alberto, so whose fault is this?
Mine.
Perfect. Why didn't you convince your mother of that?
When his mother found out, we all discussed together that we will each take responsibility for it.
Who's each?
Me, Brendan, and Casey. Because
well, it's not, just a second. Not Casey's fault. You took the keys. You didn't have permission to take the keys. Brendan, maybe. He was with you, but he didn't drive it. You did. Why is it anybody else's fault but yours?
They didn't stop me.
So let's say you're walking down the street with your mother, and you see somebody that you went to school with that you don't like, and you walk past them, and you say to your mother, I'm going to punch him in the face. You walk past him, you punch him in the face. It's fault?
No, ma'am.
Why? She didn't stop you. She didn't stop you. You get it?
Yes, ma'am.
You have anything to say to me, Miss Garcia?
Yeah. The reason I felt that it wasn't all his fault was because all three parties were involved. Casey is older than my child. The key was in his house.
Just a second. How much older is he?
2 years older than him.
So what?
No, but he had possession of the keys.
No, he didn't. He didn't have possession of the keys.
They've done.
If he had the keys in his pocket.
No, Judge.
Hey, listen to me. If he had the keys in his pocket, and he took the keys out of his pocket and handed them to your son, then he had control of the keys. Your son didn't ask permission. It's like he stole the keys. And what he's saying is, well, nobody stopped me. I mean, you mean if he walked out with the silver and nobody stopped him, he could have the silver? If he saw the family jewels and he said, I'm going to take those. And he said, well, I took them, but nobody stopped me. So why can't I have those? He stole the keys and he went outside. And he was in the car already.
Yes, sir.
All right. How much damage did you have to your car?
I also have another incident, Your Honor, where my new truck was keyed, and I saw Alberto running from my carport that evening, and I have a police report on it as well. And there have been other instances, burnt screens, lawn bags that I've bagged up have been scattered over my yard the next morning, graffiti on the side of my house.
Listen to me, Mr. Garcia. What do you want to say? It wasn't you, right?
The police report didn't even say that. When we was there with the cops, she said that her daughter came out of the house and said that she may have saw the back of my head.
Listen to me, sir. What I'm going to say to you is, only you and I know whether or not you were involved in any of these shenanigans that's taken place in the Burr home since this incident. Unfortunately, Miss Burr knows that she has insufficient proof of what's been going on, this little vandalism and prank stuff, because I'm sure that Brandon is involved, which is why he doesn't see him anymore. I don't know about Dwayne. Dwayne was in the house. Why don't you see him anymore?
I don't know.
So you didn't tell me the whole story. You didn't tell your mother the whole story. He didn't tell you the whole story, Miss Burr. Not the whole story, but he's not responsible. You are. And if you've been fooling around with Miss Burr's property, it better stop. Because now 10 million people know that you are potentially a suspect. So there are going to be lots of eyes on you, including the police. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. What's the estimate to fix your car?
One is for $1,608, the other one's for $1,733, and the third one, $1,840.
Can I see pictures of the car, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's not $3,000, $1,608. Where did you learn your math?
Also for the keying of my truck.
I already told you that you have no proof of that. He did it. You weren't paying attention. Oh, you're lucky that this damage is only $16.08, that she can have it fixed for that. That's pretty nasty damage, sir. How old are you?
14.
Ever been in any trouble before?
No, ma'am.
Great. Don't get into trouble again. Your mother looks like a very nice lady. She doesn't need trouble from you.
No, she doesn't.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $16.08. Thank you.
Parties are excused and they step out.
22-year-old Leonardo Saucedo is suing his former roommate, 23-year-old Jessica Trejo, for breaking their apartment lease.
Mr. Saucedo, this young lady was a friend of yours, and you decided to rent an apartment together.
That's correct.
You signed a one-year lease. It was a two-bedroom apartment, from what I gather. You moved in. Shortly after you moved in, she moved out.
Yes.
And you were able to terminate the lease early, but it cost you several $1,000s. And you believe that because she moved out without any good cause, that she should be responsible for the early termination fees on the lease.
That's correct.
I've tried and tried to find the defense that is in Ms. Trejo's answer, and the best I can figure out is you were playing your radio too loud.
No, that's not true.
I don't know what her defense is. When did you move into this apartment, Mr. Saucedo?
We moved there September 2006.
And how long had you known the defendant before you decided to be roommates?
About a year. I had met her on MySpace.
You didn't have a romantic relationship?
We did prior to moving in. We were talking, kind of dating, but we ended that before we moved in because we didn't want to have conflict with each other.
And did that work out okay?
There was one occasion. Something happened, but that's it.
Everything else was...
Everything else was perfect.
She stayed in her room and you stayed in yours.
Exactly, yes. No problems. We both respect each other's space.
When did you move out?
February 2007.
Why?
Because I felt like I was not in a good environment, because he would have his music all loud. I would work 13 hours a day, 6 days out of the week, and my job is very serious.
What kind of job do you have?
I'm a laboratory technician.
Yeah?
And pretty much I have to get my sleep in order for me to do my bone marrow slides and whatever I do. And he would bring girls over to the house, always playing the music loud, and I could never get my sleep. I would come home 11 o'clock at night from work, and I would shut my door, try to go to sleep. I couldn't. There was always things slamming doors, slamming cabinets, and there was no way of me getting my sleep.
That's not true.
I would be going to sleep until 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning.
So that's your defense. Your defense was that he played the music too loud.
Not only that, Your Honor.
Well, then get to something more meaningful, madam.
Okay, another thing was we did have a sexual relation while we were living together. We did.
And?
And another thing was he owed a lot of money to me before we moved in. And, like, the money that he owed me and, like, the music and all that he was always playing. And not only that, but the foul language and the sex he was having with other girls. And I would always bring my friends over, which it was a 14-year-old daughter from my best friends.
Yeah.
And they would come over and come and visit me. And when they would come and visit me, it was at the wrong time, to the point that he would be having sex and the 14-year-old girl would be listening to that.
It's not true.
I'm still waiting for a legal reason for you moving out and breaking your lease.
Because it was not an environment for me to be in.
Should have thought of that before you signed the lease.
He was not like that the way we were.
He was always like, you mean he's a psychopath? He's got bipolar disorder? He's two different personalities? You know him for a year. This is who he is.
Yes, but before that, when we moved in together, he was not the way he was before.
So?
It was a whole totally different person.
So what you do is, since you work 12 hours a day, you say, listen, I'm going to stay in this apartment. You leave. I'll take over the lease. But I'm not happy with living with you here. You just don't leave.
I did tell him that. I gave him my 30-day notice.
You can't give him 30-day notice. You have a one-year lease. How could you give him 30-day notice? Tell him I'm leaving, goodbye, I'm giving you 30 days?
I did give him a 30-day notice. Plus, not only that, but I just felt like I couldn't be in the apartment anymore. It was affecting with my job.
So I just told you what you should have done. You should have said to him, I think you have to move out because we're not getting along.
I told him that we needed to move out.
Not we. Not we, he.
Okay, well, I did not want it to be there no longer either.
Why? No,
I was going to pay whatever was the rest on the lease.
Yes.
Okay? Now, he decided not to leave from there because he didn't want to live with his grandparents anymore.
You're double-talking, Ms. Trejo. You're double-talking.
He did not want to live with his grandparents.
I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about you. Why didn't you say, I can't stand your music, I can't stand your social life, please, you move out and I'll stay in the apartment, or you stay in the apartment I'll move out. If you can't get another roommate, I'll pay the rent or the early termination fees.
We did have a communication in that. And sometimes I wouldn't be able to have a communication with him because of my overtime and the hours I was working. So I would leave a note to him, letting him know the problems that it would affect me in my environment, that me being there. So.
You can't act like a baby. You can't pack up your suitcase and leave when you have a lease, when you have an obligation. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Where did you go when you left him?
I had went back.
I don't want you to think about where you went. I want you to just tell me where you went.
To my mom's house.
That's an answer. And are you still there?
Yes, I am.
And you don't pay rent?
Yes, I do.
How much rent do you pay?
$500.
I don't believe you. How's that? I don't believe you. I think that you're a slick talker. But I think you did the wrong thing with regard to this young man. You have no valid reason that you moved out of that apartment. None. The radio was too loud? Tell him to turn the radio down. You wrote him letters? Let me see the letters. I assume you kept a copy.
No, I didn't.
Well, of course not, because it's a lot of baloney. You don't like him having women in the apartment? That was your arrangement. Your arrangement was you were moving in as friends. That's why you moved into a 2-bedroom apartment instead of a 1-bedroom apartment. How much did you pay in fees to terminate the lease?
In total, I paid $4,145, but I'm only suing for $3,080 because I'm paying for my half of the rent for the 2 months.
Let me see your figures, please. How many months did you stay there, Mr. Saucedo, after she moved out?
The first week of March was my last week there.
And where did you go?
Back to my grandma's house.
How old are you?
22.
And you?
23.
That's where you belong. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,080. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Claudia Blanco says ex-boyfriend Rene Trujillo owes for illegally repossessing her car. Rene is countersuing, claiming Claudia's negligence ruined his credit.
Miss Blanco, Mr. Trujillo was your boyfriend.
Yes.
Your complaint alleges that he co-signed for a car for you.
Yes.
The car was titled in his name?
And mine.
But he was on the loan?
Yes.
You couldn't get credit?
Both of us were on the loan.
But you couldn't get credit yourself?
Yes.
You broke up. And the agreement, when he agreed to co-sign for you, from what I understand, was as follows. He would co-sign for you, and you would make regular payments on the car, timely, that you would maintain insurance on the car, that you would pay for his cell phone, maintain his cell phone. Anything else, sir?
Medical insurance.
And keep him on your medical insurance, pay for his medical insurance.
Yes.
That was in exchange for him obligating himself on the car loan. You broke up. According to Mr. Trujillo, you were late in many of your car payments, which damaged his credit.
Yes.
In addition, although he doesn't say it, you do, you canceled his cell phone and canceled his medical insurance.
In January of '07, yes. This year.
Whatever. You canceled his medical insurance. There was no time limit on this contract.
It wasn't really an agreement that I was going to pay his cell phone insurance. It was more of a blackmail, and I have emails to prove that.
What do you mean? Just a sec. I'll see you in a sec. But it's my understanding, even from you, in your complaint, that we came to an agreement, this is what you swore to, that he would co-sign my car for me, and I would pay for his cell phone plan along with adding him to my medical insurance. That's what you say.
Yes.
So you canceled his cell phone and you canceled his medical insurance. You fell behind in your car payments, and he repossessed the car and turned it back in. Is that what you did with it, or are you driving it?
I currently have the car.
You currently have the car, and
Yes.
you've made up car payments.
Right, I brought it up to date.
You want all the money that you put into the car.
Not necessarily all the money, the down payment that I put into and the payments, some of the payments that I did, and for insurance and the cell phone bill that I did remove them from it, but it wasn't really an agreement. And I have emails that show that it was more of, if I take them off, that the car deal would be done and deal with.
Well, that's true. You know, you don't understand, Miss Blanco. If you made that agreement with him when he co-signed for the car for you, which is what you say in your complaint, and you subsequently break up. So you get the dates. When did you break up?
In September of '06.
And when was the car purchased?
July 22nd of '06.
And when did you take him off the cell phone?
The cell phone, I took him off in this February of '07.
And when did you cut him off of your health insurance?
They didn't cancel that until August 31st of this year, after he took the vehicle and everything.
When did you cancel him from the health insurance? Not when they took him off. When did you cancel him?
When I told him June of this year.
June?
Of '07.
And he repossessed the car?
June 10th.
Which he lied about repoing the car. He did not tell me anything.
He doesn't have to tell you anything. How many times were you late on car payments?
4 times. But I have proof from VW that I called them, everything, we stayed in touch.
I don't care whether you stayed in touch. What does that mean, Ms. Blanco, that you stayed in touch?
Because they cut my hours from work. It was very unexpected. On March 10th, we had a meeting and they told us, hey, we're cutting hours by Monday. I went from working 40-plus hours to 32 hours. There was no way I could come up with the money. I was trying my hardest to get a second job, and Renee knew about this. He knew that I was trying to get a second job. I kept in touch with him. I only paid $110 this time.
Ms.
We're going to do it.
You have to be a grown-up, sweetheart.
I was
Listen
now.
to me. You can't visit your problems on him. The fact that you were working with Volkswagen and they don't want your old car back, they want to work with you as long as they're going to get their money, right? That's one thing. That doesn't mean it's not reported to his credit as the co-signer. The fact that you lost hours impacted on him.
He
you
knew
understand that.
I understand
That's his
that.
complaint, because he has a counterclaim. He says you ruined his credit, because for 4 times, and I don't care if it was 4 times or 3 times or 2 times, if you don't make your car payment on time, the people who were responsible on that loan are going to be penalized. That was him. He has an absolute right to repossess the car for that alone. In addition to the fact that you had a contract with him, a verbal contract, he would obligate himself on the car if you would maintain him on his cell phone and your insurance. Well, after a while, you're not his girlfriend anymore. You say, I'm going to cancel that cell phone. I don't want to pay for a cell phone where he's calling other people, and I don't want to pay for his health insurance anymore. I'm canceling it.
It wasn't out of a malicious act to
It doesn't have to be
remove him.
It doesn't have to be malicious. That was your contract with him.
But it wasn't a contract.
Yes, it was. That's what you said. You
I
said
have
it
emails
was an
from him.
agreement. We came to an agreement that he would co-sign my car for me and I would pay for his cell phone along with adding him to my health insurance. You want me to see what you signed?
I know. I circled that agreement part. It wasn't...
That's what you signed.
I know.
That's what you swore to.
It wasn't an
That's what you said happened. That's what he says happened. He may not want to revisit that now.
Your Honor, there's an email here that shows the only reason I kept that going was because
she
of
doesn't
this.
understand that the email is going to support exactly what I said. Yeah, he says to you, you keep me on your insurance and your cell phone plan, and we'll keep the same car deal. That's what he says.
But it wasn't the car deal. The reason why it says car deal is because when we first signed up for the car, we signed up on July 22nd. A couple days after that, the guy that we did the car loan with called us in and said, hey, we have a better interest rate for you. If you come in, we could redo the contract. So I got sick a couple days after that, so we couldn't go right away. I had surgery, everything was fine. We went back and redid the contract, but before we redid the contract, we got into an argument, and I said, you know what, we have to take this out of my name, or out of your name, put it into my own name, now that, this is not how it's supposed to be. And in that email it says,
Ms. Blanco, was the car in both your names?
Yes.
Was the loan in both your names?
Yes.
Do you have proof, sir, that your credit score went from one thing to another?
I do.
Can I see it, please?
Sure. This is the before and the after with the credit scores highlighted.
I have the proof of, or not proof, but when we first co-signed the car, they did a credit check on us, and I have the credit score that they gave us on his and
Not
mine.
us, him.
And mine. Both of ours.
Just his.
Oh, you want
What was his?
His was 776.
Now it's 630. Now it's 630, based upon your 4 late payments. Now, is this a new car?
Yes.
You know, when you walk out of the showroom, the car is diminished by 20%?
Yes.
So he had to take over a car that was now worth 20% less because you ruined his credit, in addition to cutting off his cell phone and insurance. Forget that. So you don't get anything for that, Ms. Blanco? Nothing.
This was not, it wasn't an agreement. I know that it says in its agreement, but when we were signing it upstairs, I circled it and said it wasn't really an agreement.
Whether it was or it was not, you cannot ruin the co-signatory's credit rating because you had a problem with your job. That's not his problem.
He knew that, and we were trying. We both wanted to make payments on it, but they didn't take credit card. And I tried my hardest to get a second job.
Crying. Did you buy a new car?
No, I have not.
Why not?
I'm saving up for it.
Good. That's what you
Because I
should
don't
have
want
done.
payments.
That's what you should have done.
And
at
that's
the
what we
beginning.
wanted to do, and I wanted to do, and I have proof that I tried my hardest to get my car to pass smog so that I didn't have to get a new car. Chucky was also there as when I was searching for a new car. I did not want payments whatsoever, and he convinced me to get a new car and get payments.
You are a very strong young lady, and you don't seem to me like somebody who's shy. You got into difficulty. He had a right to take back the car.
Not the way he did, though.
Listen.
I was
I'm not
at
saying
work,
he was-
Your Honor.
I'm not saying he was Prince Charming. He had
I
a
know.
right to take back the car.
But I was at work, Your Honor, when he came, and I had lunch with my boss, and he just took the car. He did not warn me. After lying about having the spare key.
I'm not the moral police, Miss Blanco. I'm here to decide a legal issue. The legal issue is, did he have the right to take the car? Absolutely. Did he have the right to sell the car? Absolutely. Does
But
he
he
have
has
the
the
right
right.
to keep the car and make the payments? Absolutely. That is his prerogative because you ruined his credit. You have no right to do that. You have to be a big grown-up girl and not say, because I lost my job, I had surgery, I had other things that happened to me, and I this and I have that. It's not my fault. He took the car the way I was having lunch with my boss. He didn't give me notice. You breached the contract to make the payments in a timely manner. May not have been of your own volition. It may have been because, I don't know, the sky was falling and henny penny and whatever other reason it was, but that can't impact on him. He's not your boyfriend anymore. He's not your boyfriend. He's not your father. He's not your brother. He has no moral obligation to you whatsoever. Now, you're driving the car, sir?
No, it's currently garaged at my mother's house.
Why?
Because I have nowhere to put it at. I go to San Francisco State, and I have no
Well,
garage.
who's going to drive the car?
My mom's driving it right now.
Oh, your mom's driving it. Good. So you have a nice car, right?
Right.
Good. So what are you complaining about?
By the time I sell the car to my supervisor here, I won't have lost $5,000.
Well, you should have sold it to her sooner.
She doesn't have.
You
She's going
showed
to apply
it-
for a loan.
You should have sold it to her sooner. That's not her problem. That's your problem.
Okay.
You took back the car. Car is in good running order.
Yes.
And now you're paying for it, and you're going to sell it to somebody else.
To her.
And right now your mother's driving it.
Right.
Very nice. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Okay.
So is your claim. You're not entitled to any money back. That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Brenna O'Henley and her brother Daniel are suing their former tenant, Jared Debnam, for unpaid rent and utilities. Jared says his living arrangements were substandard, so he's not paying.
You are brother and sister, is that correct? Yes. You bought a condo together?
Yes, 2 years ago.
You live together?
Yes.
Great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Get along?
Yeah,
Work
for the
together,
most
too.
part.
Fabulous. How much was this condo?
It was $770,000. It's now worth $950,000.
Perfect. So you bought this condo and you did a very foolish thing. You decided to take in a third roommate.
Yes.
That would be you. And according to your complaint, he owes you a whole bunch of money for rent and primarily for rent and utilities. Mr. Debnam says, well, there was never really a formal agreement about him paying so much per month, and he's got a whole host of other problems that he encountered while living with you. You moved a girlfriend in shortly after he moved in, so he didn't feel as if that was right. There was a leak, and some of his clothes got moldy, right?
Correct.
Have you always lived in the United States of America?
Yes, I have.
So you know that this is what we call a free country.
Correct.
If you don't like something or if you don't like a place where you're living, what can you do?
Choose to move on.
You don't choose to stay, kvetch, and don't pay. You move on to where there isn't a girlfriend, where there isn't a leak, where there isn't mold, but you don't stay and don't pay. Now, you lived there for a year, and you did pay some money in a bulk. You know, you didn't pay it by month because you were sort of not working, whatever. You got a check, and you gave them $4,000.
Well, that was just a part of the check from one of my financial aid checks.
Did you have your own bedroom?
Yes.
Did you have your own bathroom?
No.
Who did you share the bathroom with?
Everybody that used the house. As far as the communal upstairs bathroom, so it wasn't just my bathroom.
And what were you supposed to pay a month?
Before we moved in, I told him, being a graduating senior, that my money was based solely upon receiving periodic financial aid checks, at which time I told him this is how I would be able to pay him whatever money. And so he knew about this situation before.
Tell me what he knew.
He knew that I would be getting financial aid checks each semester.
Fine.
And
So
that
you
from
did
those
get a-
checks, I would pay him what I could towards the money for living at his place.
Without any set amount? So you could have given him, let's say, $500 for 6 months, and that would have been okay.
No, Your Honor. He wanted to pay, or come to a limit to pay $750 a month.
Ah, okay. You know, I knew if you let you
Oh,
talk long enough, if I let you talk long enough, eventually we were going to get someplace close to the truth, sir. So According to you, he wanted $750 a month, which you agreed to pay when you got your financial aid checks.
Correct.
How much did you give him?
A little less than $7,500 total.
So that would be for 10 months. Did he give you $7,500?
Overtime, yes.
So how much do you think he owes you?
I've come up with about $6,000.
For what?
Well, it was $750 plus utilities and a sticker for him to park his car. I actually have a breakdown of the whole payment history that I
don't need
received.
the whole payment history. If you acknowledge that he paid you $7,500, that's for 10 months. That means he owes you 3 months' rent, which is $2,250.
Well, do you not include utilities in that?
It does not include utilities,
Our
sir.
agreement included utilities.
Show me in writing. Well, what I'm telling you is, if you allow somebody to live with you for 13 months and do not collect utilities from them on a regular basis, I'm not going to waste my precious time, 2 graduate degrees, and go over month-to-month Con Edison bills. What I'm telling you is, if you got $750 a month from him, Mr. O'Henley, we wouldn't be standing here today.
Exactly.
Okay. And that's exactly what I'm going to give you. $750 a month for 13 months. He's already paid you for 10, which means he owes you $2,250. Now, is there any reason why I shouldn't enter a judgment in that amount, sir?
Just for the living condition that I was provided with when living at this place. This is why he didn't receive, or what I feel he got paid the full amount of what I was provided living at this place.
That's why we talked about a free country,
Correct,
Mr. Debnam.
Correct. So
That
was my only complaint.
Who is the person that's raising her hand that's irritating
I would
me?
agree. Except I just didn't have the opportunity.
Who's the person raising their hand that's irritating me?
This is my fiance. And she's the person who lived with me at this place, not lived, but came and stayed at my place. Or not
So
our
it
place,
wasn't only his girlfriend that stayed. Your
No.
girlfriend stayed too?
I'm sorry.
Just a second.
4 or 5 days a week.
So it wasn't only his girlfriend that stayed, it was your girlfriend that stayed.
My girlfriend would come there every other weekend and spend the weekend. Correct.
So she stayed. And if she didn't like living there because of the cold and the mold, she wouldn't have come. Okay. Right?
Right.
Should have gone to her house. By not stand there and kvetch, sir, that you didn't like the circumstances and you stayed anyway. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,250. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Cynthia Aseltine and her daughter, 19-year-old Danielle Ireland, are suing Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, for the return of a security deposit, moving expenses, and damages from an assault.
All rise. Now, this is case number 40 on the calendar in the matter of Aseltine Ireland versus Nice. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Who is Miss Ireland?
I'm Miss Ireland.
Aselton?
Aseltine is my mother.
Miss Aseltine, according to your complaint, you, not your daughter, but you, rented a room from the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And you found that room on something on the internet called Craigslist?
Yes, ma'am.
And signed a month-to-month lease.
I did.
When did you sign that?
March 1st, 2007.
Where had you been living before that?
I was residing in an apartment which I shared with my daughter, and she decided to move out on her own and get her own apartment. So I thought it would be good for me to move into a place where I could save a little money, maybe meet some new people, until I was able to purchase my own home.
How long had you been renting rooms?
I've been renting rooms for about 4 years.
What kind of property do you have?
I have a home in Elk Grove, California.
How many bedrooms?
5 bedrooms.
How many tenants do you have?
Currently 1.
How many tenants did you have when you had Miss Aseltine?
Just myself and Cindy.
And it was a month-to-month tenancy?
It was.
It is your claim that Miss Neese terminated your tenancy without proper notice, and you want moving expenses, your security deposit back, and you want damages because she, you claim, assaulted both you and your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Neese says that you are not entitled to your security deposit back because you promised that you were going to stay through April, and you didn't. It is her claim that you actually assaulted her. So let's find out when the trouble began. You moved in March 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
About approximately a week after I moved in, I noticed some strange behavior from Miss Neese. When I was in the home alone, and especially when I had company over, I would notice some outbursts. It seems she was talking to herself, kind of laughing out loud. She'd walk through the home when I'd have company over and bang anything that would make noise, opening and closing compulsively the garage door. The washer was close to my room, so she'd slam the washer door up and down.
Got it. Let's move on.
Okay. And I became just really uncomfortable in the home. I'd find myself, I'd sign up for overtime, I'd go to the gym, anything to avoid coming home because her behavior was really disturbing and uncomfortable. And so I noticed that it became more obvious when I had company over, so I decided to talk to her about it. So maybe I was doing something wrong. And so I came home, and so I knocked on her door. She didn't answer, so that's when I called her cell phone, and I found that she was actually at home in her room. And she came out, and I had a conversation with her, and I said, is there something bothering you, lately? Because I've noticed that you've been slamming things around, banging things. And her response was, bang? I don't bang. I don't bang anything. I said, oh, okay, well, apparently, when my boyfriend's over, does he make you uncomfortable? No, I don't have a problem with your boyfriend. And I said, well, one night, he spent the night here, and it seemed that you were really uncomfortable with that, and that's when I noticed the most noise. She goes, well, I didn't even know he spent the night. And she goes, well, it's in your lease agreement that you can't have any overnight guests. I said, well, I didn't notice that in my lease agreement. I apologize.
Was it in your lease agreement?
It was, ma'am, in my lease agreement.
Okay.
And I said, I respect that. And I said, well, that's something that I'm not sure if I could live with. I apologize. I overlooked that. And I said, if you feel real strong about that, then I think I might have to make a decision to move out. And I would go ahead and give you a proper 30-day notice. And she goes, okay, well, that's fine.
Fine. What day was that? That was in
Okay,
March?
that was of March. I sent her a copy, certified mail, which she...
May I see it, please?
Absolutely. That was sent regular mail as well as certified mail, which I have a receipt there. Ms. Neese never picked up the certified copy.
Okay, and you received this letter terminating
Yes.
her tenancy.
Yes, I have
Fine.
it right here.
Good. So what happened?
Okay,
What was
so
next?
things were a little still uncomfortable in the house, so I decided to avoid her as much as possible. About a week after giving that notice to her, I came home and found that she was interviewing another tenant, which I gave her the privacy. I had went and cleaned up and got ready to go back out again.
I haven't
She
even
then
you have a turn. Right now, plaintiff is talking.
Okay.
Go ahead. After I had finished and cleaned up and the person had left, she had come and spoke with me and said, okay, well, when are you going to be moving your furniture out? I understand, I received your 30-day notice. And I go, well, I can start putting it in storage soon if you really need the space, because she was saying that she wanted to offer that space to the tenant. She goes, well, that's your right to keep it there for the remainder of the month. And, things seemed to be okay then, but she was still exhibiting some behaviors that I just didn't feel that...
I understand. You were moving out for a reason. Keep going.
Absolutely. And so I had received a phone call on March 31st. I was at the gym, and I received a message from Miss Neese. And on the message, she says that she's demanding that she have a face-to-face meeting with me and discuss the 30-day notice agreement and finalize me moving out. And so I was kind of, I didn't understand.
Just tell me what happened.
Okay, so I called her up, and I said, I got your message. What's the deal with me having to come over? And she goes, well, I want you to speak to me face-to-face. I gave you the same respect when you gave me your 30-day notice. And I said, well, I really don't want to have any confrontation with you. You're making me feel really uncomfortable and threatened. She goes, well, if you do not come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. And I said, you can't lock me out. And she goes, I'm telling you, if you don't come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. At that point, she disconnected the phone call. Me and my boyfriend were at the gym. I said, come on with me. She's threatening to lock me out. I need to go home. When we got there, me and my boyfriend entered the home, and Miss Neese was in the kitchen. She had already taken all my groceries out of the fridge and out of the cupboard and had set them up on the counter as if she was moving me out. I said, what are you doing? Please put my things back. You can't move me out. What's the problem? And at that point, she came around the counter of the kitchen with her finger in my face, and she goes, girl, you better shut your mouth, because in the name of Jesus, I'm going to smack the devil out of you. At that point, my boyfriend placed his body in between us because she was this close in my face, and he's that face to me, and he's like trying to block her. And she turned around, and she swung about backside of him and hit me upside the head. At that point, I grabbed my cell phone. She grabbed her cell phone. I called the police. She called 911. The police arrived, a female police officer. Police officer went and spoke to Miss Neese. Miss Neese had stated that she was going to be locking me out of the house, and the officer had stated, legally, ma'am, you cannot lock her out of the house. And she goes, don't you tell me how to run my household.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when did the incident happen with your daughter?
Same day.
Same day?
It was a little bit later on that day when I had came. The police officers had actually left at a certain point, and my mother had called my boyfriend and get a U-Haul to get all of her things, and we both ended up showing up at the exact same time as my mom with the U-Haul, and that's when I arrived.
And what happened with Miss Neese?
Well, we came into the house, and she was in her bedroom, had shut the door, and was in her bedroom, like the police officer told her to stay in the room. I went into this little front area that was right next to her bedroom door and started to grab furniture. And I grabbed this big glass top that was to one of my mom's coffee tables, and I started going out. And then Miss Neese came out of her room and was really mad and angry, and was directing a lot of anger at myself and at Ryan, saying that he didn't have any right to be in the house, and that was saying something about how we couldn't go through the garage door. She was telling us we had to go through the front door for some reason, and I was standing on my way to the garage door. She was really like livid and saying that we couldn't be in our house, that we had no right to be in there, and then she comes up behind me and grabs me by the back of my neck and like kind of pushes me and then kind of hits me. And then Miss Neese turned around to my mom and starts getting in her face, and she's throwing her hands wildly and stuff, and then she goes to make a fist like she was going to strike my mom, and I grabbed her arm and I put it down and I said, "Don't touch my mom." And then it just turned into a scuffle where she was just being really wild.
Okay, Miss Neese, I would like you first to tell me your version of the events of the 31st of March.
Okay, Saturday, March 31st, I initiated a call to Cindy to finalize things in the matter. She had sent me a letter March 20th indicating that she was going to move out at the end of April. And so I wanted to finalize things as far as obtaining the rent for April.
She already told you that she was going to give you the rent April 3rd in the letter.
Right. In my lease, it indicates, in the initial agreement that we signed, it indicates that if any rent is not paid time or in full, that they will forfeit the security. That's in item number 2 in our lease.
What difference does that make? She already said, "I'll pay you your rent on April 3rd. It's in her letter that she sent to you.
Because I just like to do things decently and in order, so...
This is decently and in order. You called her on her cell phone.
Yeah, I called her on Saturday and I asked, because she had initiated an appointment in mid-March. She wanted to see if her boyfriend could stay overnight, and she knocked on my door. Actually, I was napping, and she knocked on my door until...
Don't interrupt her. I'm just asking you what you told her on March 31st. You called her, she's at the gym.
On March 31st, I asked her if she had any time in the afternoon. I said I'd appreciate if we could finalize things and, you know, get the rent. So then she started cursing at me, and she started getting really violent on the phone and calling me up.
Did you tell her she had to come home or else you were going to change the locks?
No, absolutely not.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator? I'm speaking.
No, I didn't actually.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator and place it on the counter?
No, not...
Did you tell the police when they arrived that you were planning on changing the locks and locking her out?
When she started cursing at me on the phone, because she, by the way, she's been pretty violent before, so when she came home from the gym, she came home and she kicked me, which I have a photo of the bruise on my leg from when she kicked me then. At that point, I had called the police, and because I had wanted to have her arrested. So when they came over, they kind of separated us, got both versions of what had happened. And so I didn't have her arrested at that point.
The police found you very agitated, Ms. Neese. According to all 3 police officers who arrived at the scene...
Well, she assaulted me. I have pictures. She admitted biting me on the arm.
There was an altercation. There's no question there was an altercation.
Well, I actually didn't touch her or her daughter. Both of them came home. She called her daughter, and they both came in, and then they assaulted me in my room. And that's why I had called the police a second time. When I was on the phone with the police, I was terrified. They said, "Where are you?" I said, "I locked myself in my room," because I was afraid they were going to come in again. I have pictures of the door and from when they tried to barge in my door. All the bruises, they hit me.
What do you do for a living, Ms. Neese?
I'm an insurance broker.
For a company?
For myself. I have my own agency. And I'm going to school for court reporting.
So you operate out of your home or out of an office?
I'm usually on the road, but my office is out of my home, yes.
So you don't have an office other than at your home?
Correct.
And how long have you been doing that?
5 years.
Make a living at that?
Yes.
The last time you had a tenant prior to the plaintiff, what was that tenant's name?
Prior to Cynthia? She was the first tenant in that home.
So you'd never had a tenant?
Not in this home. When I was in the Bay Area, I've had tenants. She was the first tenant in this home.
Judge, I have some information regarding the tenants in the Bay Area.
Cynthia Aseltine and daughter Danielle Ireland are accusing Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, of 2 assaults.
Now, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, Yes, San Mateo County Courts, there's 3 claims regarding Ms. Neese in regards to tenant-landlord. 2 times she was a defendant and 1 she was a plaintiff regarding the same situation, withholding deposits and
see
so
that?
forth. Actually, I didn't print it out, but if you go to San Mateo County Courts, it is public record.
You had 3 landlord and tenant actions while you were there. 1 is a plaintiff and 1 is a defendant.
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but it was just probably a lack of, my income. But with regard to
No,
this...
I'm not talking about, I'm asking you whether you had 3 previous landlord and tenant actions.
I think there was 1, and it was just because I was having problems, with cash flow, but they have since been paid back.
One was that she put a stop pay on a deposit as a tenant herself.
That sound familiar?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but I would appreciate if we could talk about this case today and why, I don't believe that I owe her this security deposit.
You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question that you owe her the security deposit. You
Okay.
told her to leave. I've read the police report. You said you wanted her out that day. She left. She did not stay the month of April, despite the fact that she said she was planning on paying April's rent. You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question about that.
Well, because she assaulted me, and I had to put out expense. She didn't return the key when she moved out.
I believe that this was an unfortunate circumstance, that everybody's tempers got very flared up.
Actually,
on that.
mine did not.
Well, not according
And
to
I
the
was
Miss Neese. According to the
I
police,
was
the only
blatantly assaulted by her and her
Miss
daughter,
Neese,
and her boyfriend had
I'm
to
telling
pull them
you,
off of me.
and the police department.
And when
I'm
she
speaking.
moved
When I'm
out-
speaking, don't speak.
Okay.
Clearly, not only did you claim that they were assaultive, you
I have
also. I'm
photographs of all
speaking.
the
I'm
assaults.
speaking. Do you hear me speaking? You also claim conspiratorial behavior on the part of the police. You weren't satisfied with the police officer who came. You demanded their supervisor. 2 supervisors arrived. They couldn't calm you down. You demanded their supervisor. So everybody is in a conspiracy against you. There's something not right, Miss Neese. All of that is clearly contained in the police report. I assume you have a copy of it.
The copy that I obtained from them does not contain that information. That's not what they had given me. They
May
gave
not
me
be what
one
they
line.
gave you, but that's what I have.
Okay, can I show you the pictures of my bruise?
Absolutely.
And actually, I still have them on my body.
Absolutely. Show me.
This is a picture of when she bit me in the arm.
She absolutely acknowledges that she
And
bit you in
then,
the arm, and she
a
says she
bruise
bit you.
on my
I'm
breast.
speaking. Don't you want to hear me speaking? She absolutely acknowledges that she bit you in the arm so that you would let her go.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay, can I tell my version of the story, ma'am?
When I contact the police department.
Okay. What had transpired, basically, the whole issue, when she first, in the initial ad, I indicated no alcohol, no overnight guests, and she breached both of those. She was drinking a lot while she was there, and she was having overnight guests, her boyfriend. And I never even said anything because I didn't want to get into it. But then she mentioned, she talked to me that one day, and I said, no overnight guests. Are you okay with that?
So she gave
said
you notice.
yes.
Listen, I got it. I have other things to do today. She said, I'm moving. She sent you an appropriate notice that she's moving. Move on with it. Get to the 31st.
Right, but then she didn't pay the rent, and so I wanted
No. She has no obligation to pay the rent on March 31st. None. And if you demanded that she come home from the gym...
I didn't demand that she came home. I called her on the cell phone, and I said, do you have any time this afternoon? What's your availability?
I don't think you should have roommates. I don't think you should rent rooms to anybody. I don't. I think that you are a very, very nice lady who clearly should live alone, not with anybody else, because you can't make rules for adults. I mean, she's an adult lady. She's not a teenager. You didn't rent to a teenager. And if you don't like other people living in your house because other people aren't going to do things the way you do,
well, it's not that I want to do things the way I want to do.
Don't.
But when I
rent
rented
a room,
they said no overnight guests. When
absolutely
I rented, they
right.
set their
And she said
guidelines,
I didn't.
and I honored them.
So
if she didn't want to.
Do you take medication? Do you take medication?
No, ma'am.
You should. Because I've already told you 4 times, this is the 4th time, that when I start to speak, you have to stop.
Okay.
You can't. There's something that's not working right. You owe her security deposit, which was how much?
It was $500.
Did either of you seek any medical treatment for your injuries?
No,
yes, I did.
I'm not talking about you. Now, where did you move when you moved?
I was actually homeless for 8 days. I was allowed to stay at my boyfriend is roommate with another roommate, and he was out of town.
That's fine. Don't make up things as we go along. You weren't homeless because you were able to sleep someplace.
Well, yes. I mean, I was without a permanent...
Fine, and then you found someplace.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Whole thing is very, very unfortunate. Really, very unfortunate. You want to say anything to me? No. You want your security deposit back?
Absolutely.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
How does that excuse you may step out?
Shelby Crowther is suing her neighbor, 24-year-old Cody Moore, for vet bills. Shelby says Cody's 6-year-old son, Caden, threw her dog in the air and broke his leg.
According to your complaint, Miss Moore's little boy, this 6-year-old, was in your backyard where your dog was playing. He was invited over by your son, who is a couple of years older. How old are you?
8.
Stand up next to your mother. I have a few questions for you. Tell me your name.
My name's Cody.
Cody, do you know this little boy's name?
No.
What's your name?
Caden Moore. He does know my name.
Caden Moore.
Yeah, when we were at daycare.
Okay. Is he your neighbor?
Yes.
Remember that day when your dog got injured?
Yes.
You remember? You have to answer my questions. Were you playing in the backyard?
Yes.
Did you invite him to come over in your backyard? No. Did you offer him a lollipop?
Yes, but I put it through the fence.
Did you offer him a lollipop?
Yes.
And did he take the lollipop?
Yes.
Did he come around in your backyard?
No.
He was never in your backyard?
Yes, but...
How did he get there?
Climbed the fence.
And what happened when he got there?
We started playing for a little, then he picked Gizmo up and threw him up in the air and broke his leg.
What did you say to him when he did that?
Nothing.
What did you do?
I picked up Gizmo.
And where did he go?
My mom told him to go back home.
And he did. And you took your dog Gizmo to the doctor?
Correct.
And he had a broken leg?
Right.
And you want Miss Moore to pay for the vet bills?
Correct.
I'm listening.
I did not become aware of the situation until she had come over to my house to let me know what was going on. I talked to my son, and he said that her son told him that if he'd climb the fence, that he would give him a sucker and they could play.
So he's over in the backyard?
Mm-hmm. And my son did say that he picked up the dog, that her son asked him to put the dog down, and my son did that. However, he did not throw her dog at
Well, how do you
all.
think the leg got broken?
I believe that he did drop her dog. A dog that weighs 4 pounds has a leg like a toothpick, so I'm sure it did break. That's, I believe that.
So either way, whether he dropped him or threw him.
I offered to pay the bills. I gave her my cell phone number. I asked her to please call me when the dog was done so that I knew what was going on. She's my new neighbor. I just moved in.
So what was the problem?
The problem started when she tried to press criminal charges on my child.
No,
And
what
that's actually in
happened-
the police report that I have with me. She had told the police a completely fabricated story. The police
Well,
came...
what did you do after the dog? You took the dog to the vet.
After I picked the dog up, went in the house, and immediately went over to her house. My husband held the dog for me. I went over to her house and explained to her what had happened. She told me that's not possible. Her son was in his bedroom, and that is not true. He was just in my backyard, and I told him to go home.
Okay, well, maybe she didn't know that.
We went into the backyard. He wasn't in there, so he was in the garage. And she asked him, and he said yes, he did pick the dog up and drop the dog.
Okay.
And I told her, I said, you're going to be responsible for these vet bills. I said, I don't have the money. She looked at me and said, well, I'm a single mom, so maybe it's best to put the dog to sleep and I will buy you a new one. I immediately looked at her and said, that's not how this works. This is my dog. I mean, he's my baby. We're not going to put him to sleep.
Did you go over there, Miss Crowther, angry?
No, I did not raise my voice at her.
You don't have to raise your voice.
I was upset. I was bawling.
Okay.
I was upset.
Okay. I mean, I can imagine that you were upset, and I can imagine that you were not calm when you spoke to her. You may not have been screaming at her. You may not have been cursing at her. I don't know. But I assume, based upon just the way you phrased it to me today, that you did not go over there in a neighborly-like way.
Right.
Well, that was wrong. This is not something that's done maliciously.
Right.
So then you should have taken it down a notch. Right?
Right.
You owe her an apology.
I'm sorry if I upset you.
You should have taken it down a notch. She didn't do anything.
Right. I didn't become enraged until she told me to put my
just
dog
a second.
to sleep.
Enraged is a relative term. If you went over there and you say, gee, that was just a real bad accident, I think that your little boy was responsible for my dog's broken leg. Right. You know, I'm going to take the dog to the vet. You know, we're going to be able to handle this. That's one way of putting it. Another way of putting it is to go over there with screaming mimis on, you know, because your dog is injured. I got it. But I think, at least with her, you overreacted. She said she'd pay the vet bill. What's the vet bill?
Well, the problem is...
She said she'd pay the vet bill. What's the vet bill?
$364.25.
That's a hefty bill for her to pay, but if she said she would pay it, it's her responsibility and she's going to take care of it. Did you call the police?
Yes.
Why?
Because I was informed that I had to have a police case number in order to file a civil claim in court.
Well, I don't know who's giving you legal advice. Certainly not any reputable person I know. You don't need a police report in order to file a small claims case.
I don't understand if I said I would pay it, why she would have to file a small claims case.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
She was only going to pay the initial bill. She told me she would not pay to have the cast removed. She flat told me, I'm only going to pay the $299. And I says, what about the remaining cost? She told me, too bad, I've talked to an attorney and you're not getting any more than that.
Actually, she told me she wanted to take her dog to the vet weekly for the next 6 months.
The-
And she wanted me to pay for that.
The vet
Don't
required that he come in every week to have the cast looked at so that it didn't get infected or anything
Whatever,
happen.
the whole bill was $364.25. Judgment for the plaintiff, $364.25. When you have a new neighbor, you try to handle things reasonably. She seems like a nice lady. Now you're at odds with each other and you share a backyard. That's terrible. And you have two kids who would probably play very nicely together. You know, they're two nice little boys. See if you can go have a cup of coffee together. It would probably be a very good idea. You're going to live there for a long time?
Plan to.
All right, so you got off to a bad start. See if you can make it better.
Okay.
You'll be happier. That's all.
Thank you.
19-year-old nanny Stephanie Goodall is suing her former employer, 26-year-old Wendy Elder, for a fraudulent check she cashed on Wendy's behalf.
Bird, you got to listen to this very carefully. I don't always ask you to do it, but this one is just one of those.
I will pay attention.
Okay. Miss Goodall was Miss Elder's nanny.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to the complaint, Miss Elder, according to her, received a check from some relative. And the check, for some reason, was made out to Miss Goodall, because according to Miss Elder, this relative was old. And she asked Miss Goodall to cash the check. Miss Goodall deposited the check for $1,850 in her checking account, and then slowly, over the course of several days, withdrew the money and gave it to Miss Elder. It turns out that the check bounced. Now, Miss Elder got the cash and spent it.
Of course.
Miss Goodall got the shaft, because her bank wants their money.
Sure.
Miss Elder is outraged that Miss Goodall is suing her, and she's going to explain why. Go.
Your Honor, I didn't write those checks. They were not in my name. They were in her name. I spoke to my relative over the phone. I explained to him that we were having a nanny for my brother's wedding, and he offered to pay expenses in nanny expenses. And I said,
okay. Just a minute. You're adding that to your answer, by the way. That's not what you said in your answer. What you said in your answer was that a relative of your husband's agreed to help you with trip expenses. Not nanny expenses, trip expenses.
Trip and nanny expenses, Your Honor.
Listen to me. Correct?
Yes, Your
because
Honor.
you say this is a relative of your husband's.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I assume your husband has a job?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what about you?
I'm a stay-at-home mom of 2.
You're a stay-at-home mom. Do you have a home?
We live in an apartment.
Do you pay rent?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have a car?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your husband has a job?
Yes, Your Honor.
You pay telephone, gas, electric?
Yes, Your Honor.
You pay them by check or cash?
We pay them by money order.
So your husband gets his paycheck, and what does he do with it?
We go
Don't think fast. What does he do with his paycheck?
He cashes it.
Where?
At the bank.
What bank?
Wells Fargo.
Is that where you keep your account? You
No,
can't cash a check there unless...
It's drawn on there.
What kind of work does he do?
A grocer. He's a grocery manager.
How long has he worked there?
11 years.
Is there any reason why you don't have a checking account? Is not an answer. Most people have a reason. If they have a job for 11 years, they have a wife, they have 2 children, they have an apartment, they have gas, electric, telephone. Most people have checking accounts. So don't give me an answer that's not going to sit well with me, Miss Elder. Why don't you have a checking account?
We're unable to get one.
Why?
Bankruptcy.
They won't give you a checking account because you have a bankruptcy?
In the last 2 years, yes, Your Honor.
No, my dear. You may not be able to get a checking account because you've committed bank fraud before. That's a possibility.
I've never done that before, Your Honor.
Maybe your husband has.
No, he's not, Your Honor.
Well, if you have a bankruptcy, you can still get a checking account. All you have to do is put money in it.
We have a savings account.
Well, you have a savings account. Well, then you can open up a checking account in the same bank that you have a savings account in. So there's a reason why you don't have a checking account. You have to do the explanation to me how you got the money, she got the shaft, and how she has nerve to sue you. You have an answer?
No, Your Honor.
So why didn't you give her money back?
Because it wasn't, I don't have that money. I didn't give it to her.
She wasn't paid by your relative. There's a difference if your relative said, I'm going to pay your nanny, and he gives her a bad check. She cashed the check and gave the cash to you. Don't you catch the difference?
I catch the difference, Your Honor, but it wasn't, she didn't give me the whole cash.
How much money did she give you? How much money did you give her?
I gave her $1,900, Your Honor.
I have record of $1,500.
So, let's say I believe you now that we're getting to $1,500. She gave you the cash. Why shouldn't you give it back to her if the check was bad?
Well, my relative or my husband's relative should give it to her, not I.
Can I say something? I have record that shows that this was from her account, not from her relative.
Just a second. Maybe the records that you have are going to help me figure out whether she's a thief or dumb.
Okay.
Let me see.
Right.
Bakersfield Police Department advised that the account on which the check was drawn belonged to Christopher and Wendy Elder. However, the account was closed by the bank in August 2001. That makes you a thief instead of just stupid. Now, that's from the police department.
Well, they didn't talk to me at all.
I don't care whether they don't have to talk to you. Explain it to me. The account had been yours. It was closed in 2001.
I don't see how that's possible. We have record that it's still open.
Is what you're telling me now that you acknowledge this is your account? Listen to me, Miss Elder. I'm going to advise you right now, because I feel as if it's my responsibility to advise you, that we are taping this, and that I plan on sending this tape to the local law enforcement authority in Bakersfield. So far, you are very close to admitting to bank fraud. And I feel as if without having the benefit of consulting with an attorney, you would do very well to say to me, I don't think I want to answer these questions anymore, Judge. Because what you say in your answer was, listen, it wasn't my bank account, it was my relatives thing about it. Now we come to a fact from your mouth that it was a bank account that belonged to you and your husband. You said, and my relative. Maybe, maybe not. But if it belonged to the three of you and a bad check was written on it and you knew that it was an account that had no funds in it, that's bank fraud, for which you can go to jail. And my sense is, if you are a woman who doesn't have a checking account and who has a husband who's worked in the same place for 11 years, you are no stranger to problems with banks. Do you follow my drift?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you want to answer my questions anymore?
No, Your Honor.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,900. That's all.
22-year-old Catherine Govis is suing the father of her child, 23-year-old Brian Epley, for the value of a computer. Brian claims he supported Catherine the entire time they lived together.
Miss Govis, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Who do you live with?
My parents.
You have a baby?
Yes.
How old is the baby?
6 months.
How old are you?
23.
Who do you live with?
My parents.
Well, there was a time that you lived together because you have a child together. That didn't last very long, and according to your complaint, he owes you for a computer that you purchased on your credit while you were together. Mr. Epley says that you left the computer when you left him, and you left the computer because he had supported you for 6 months while you were pregnant, and your arrangement was that you were each supposed to contribute to half of the expenses for the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Is there any reason why you decided to have this child?
We were together for 3 years off and on.
Together off and on, Miss Govis suggests to me that when it was off, it was because it wasn't good, right?
Yes.
Did you think having a baby was going to make it better?
No.
Your parents, did they have other children?
Yes.
How old are they?
We're all 2 years apart. I have older brothers and sisters.
So all of a sudden, your mother's taking care of a baby again?
Yep.
Terrific. And you don't even live in the same state.
No, ma'am.
Do your parents see their grandchild?
No.
I'm just suggesting to you that you just think about things before you do them. Like buying an expensive piece of equipment on credit. Now, Now, you want to tell me how that came about?
He was going to school and working at the same time, and he was working nights, so for him to wake up and go to the library to use a computer and all that, it was too difficult and too time-consuming. So he asked me to get him a computer on my
play with
credit.
your nails.
Sorry. He asked me to get him a computer on my account because he has bad credit. My parents paid for his bankruptcy, which was a couple months prior. He got that all settled, and then in February of the next year, I got him the computer. And 3 weeks later, we broke up.
Were you pregnant when they paid for his bankruptcy?
No.
Your Honor, they didn't pay for my bankruptcy. It was $600 for me to file bankruptcy. I only had $400 of it at the time, $100 that I didn't have to go ahead and file for it.
Did you pay him back?
Yes, ma'am.
No, he did not. My father would not take the money from him.
But you offered
I
it.
offered the money.
Oh, that's fine. So, you put it on your credit card. When you left, what was the discussion about the computer?
That he would have it paid off by August before the finance charges started coming in.
Oh, so you bought it for 6 months free financing. And you did discuss it when you left?
Yes.
Tell me about the discussion.
He said that he would have it paid off by August before the finance charges because he didn't want to pay any extra money on it. He told me to go ahead and send in for the $100 rebate and send that in towards the computer, but I never got the $100 rebate back from it.
Did you send in for it?
Yes. I don't know if I put the old address and it just didn't come within the time frame of my change of address or what.
A detail.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Repley. Let me hear.
Okay, we moved in together on January 1st of 2005. I moved her down there from Illinois. That's whenever we got together, and I told her at that point in time, you know, I wasn't in a hurry for her to get a job, but I would appreciate the help. We lived there for 4 months, and then we moved into a more expensive place, and I told her I needed her help at that time. We agreed she would pay half the bills and half the rent to help me out, as well as I was going to school full-time and working full-time. So whenever she left, she said, okay.
No. Okay, needed help. And when you told her you needed help and she agreed to pay for half of the expenses, sir, in what month was that?
That was in February of 05.
And in what month did she become pregnant?
I believe it was September, October.
August.
Between February of 05 and August of 05, did she work?
For about a month, Your Honor.
Did you work?
I worked for about 3 months.
Who did you work for?
I worked for temp service.
What'd you do with your money?
Gave it to him.
You contributed your money to the household?
No, ma'am.
And we got a car together, and I paid for the car payment, the gas,
Whatever.
and
She wasn't
insurance.
spending the money on drugs. So she was contributing what she could to the household. And in August, you became pregnant.
Yes.
So you stopped working?
No. I was working up until November.
So you stopped working, and you didn't contribute anymore?
No.
All right, now you tell me, sir, about the conversation you had about the computer when she left.
Whenever she left, her family came to Indiana to help her pack up to move back. And she said, you know, she only worked for a total of, it might have been 2 or 3.
I don't care. I don't care, sir. That's irrelevant to me.
But she owed me for the half of the rent for all the
She
months
doesn't
that
owe
she
you for
didn't
anything.
work.
I just want to know what she said.
She said, you can have the computer for the money that I owe you for all the expenses that you've paid to take care of me during this time.
You mean you never had the conversation with her, I'll pay you for this computer by August?
At the point whenever we broke up, I talked to her a month
No,
later.
look at
We
me.
were talking.
I asked you a question. That requires a simple answer. Did you ever have a discussion with her that the computer would be paid for by August?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you decide not to do that?
Because I felt that I did not owe her anything, Your Honor.
Well, feel. That's what we're talking about. So you see, you did have the discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
How much does he owe you for the computer?
After everything, it is now $1,750.79.
So, Mr. Repley, this is the situation. If you move in with somebody and things don't work out, that's one thing. She moves on, you move on. Takes two to tango, it takes two to make a baby. Takes two to have a problem if they don't want to have a baby. I believe her that she worked on and off, not consistently, not like you did. Maybe that was a good indication that she didn't want to get involved with somebody who was not keeping up their half of the bargain, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then what you don't do is have a baby with her. And there are things that you can do in order not to do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You owe us $1,750. You still have the computer?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I sold it.
Why?
Because I did a change of jobs and I was hurting on money, so I had to sell the computer.
Well, this is going to hurt even more. So now you don't have the computer, you have to pay for it.
Yes, ma'am.
$1,750. That's all. Step out.
Brooke Beeson claims former roommate Kimberly May broke their lease when she moved out of their apartment.
How old are you?
21.
Who is this?
My mother.
Thank you. Miss Beeson, you and the defendant leased an apartment together. Were you both in college at the time?
She dropped out of college. I was still attending, yes.
And according to your complaint, she moved out. Yes. On the lease. She moved out on the lease, and in addition to moving out on the lease, she, according to you, defamed you by telling certain things to your landlord about what was going on in the apartment. You want to be compensated for both.
Absolutely.
Half of the rent and the defamatory remarks that she allegedly made to the landlord.
Yes.
When did you sign the lease?
May 2006.
And you had known each other for a long time, according to what I read in the complaint. So this wasn't new. And it was just the two of you in the apartment?
Yes.
When did you move out?
June 29th, 2006.
Okay. Now you're going to tell me why you moved out.
Due to bad circumstances.
No, well, that's...
Drug use, and she clearly disrespected me after asking her plenty of times, her friends in and out of my stuff, my bathroom. I had to put a lock on my door because I didn't feel comfortable leaving my own house, and that's why I left.
Let me try to sort it out a little bit. You felt uncomfortable because her friends were coming to the house, and you felt uncomfortable with them.
Yes.
Why?
Because they were up all hours of the night using drugs.
Did you ever see anybody using drugs?
Yes.
Who?
Brooke and her friends.
What kind of drugs?
Marijuana, and that's all I saw.
Did you ever smoke marijuana?
Yes.
So they were up, they were partying, they were smoking marijuana.
That I know of.
That you know of. A substance that you also indulged in.
Not at the apartment.
Wherever. It's somebody's apartment. You didn't do it in the street, right?
Right.
Well, you didn't do it at school, right?
Right.
So you had to do it in somebody's apartment, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you had to put a lock on the door.
Yes.
Your bedroom door.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me when you put a lock on the bedroom door.
In May.
Tell me why.
Because I didn't feel my belongings were safe. She had people in and out of our apartment.
Miss May, did you have any rules that you set up to this apartment with Miss Beeson?
No.
Well, then you have a problem, madam. Your problem is you have to be a big girl.
I know that now.
And if you sign a lease on an apartment, you can't just pick up your marbles and go home. So far, you haven't given me one valid reason why you would be entitled to break a lease. You're alleging that you saw her and her friends smoking marijuana. Whether you did in the apartment or not, I don't know, but you certainly did it in somebody else's apartment, so you weren't frightened of drug use because you did it yourself.
Not at the time. Before I have.
Whatever. I didn't say at the time, before or after. So you weren't certainly frightened of what you saw there because it was something you had indulged in yourself. I mean, I can understand you not being happy if there's lots of partying going on. Did she complain to you about that? There's not an answer. Did she complain to you about people being in the apartment? Or...
Yes.
So what did you say to her?
They're mutual friends of ours, so at certain times, the same friends that would be there with me would be there when I would come home. Late at night, they would be over with her.
Well, why didn't you try to work it out? Sit down and work out a scenario where at 1 o'clock in the morning everybody goes home, whether it's your friends or her friends. Why didn't you try to work it out?
Because it wasn't an ongoing thing. It wasn't day to day. It wasn't day in, day out. So it was never a continual issue.
Well, but she made it an issue. When did she tell you she was moving out?
Never told me. Moved
That's a
out.
lie.
Vacated the premises without any warning. Said she needed to talk to me the morning before. I came home from work. I said, you know what, I have school all day. I'll be home at 2 o'clock. I have to be at work at 5. If you want to talk when I get home from school, that's totally fine. If you want to meet me, I'll be here from 2 to 5 before I go to work. Came home, didn't say a word to me. I went to work, came home, and all of her things were gone.
What efforts did you make to find another roommate to take over your lease?
I told her 3 weeks prior to my moving out.
What efforts
I didn't
did you
make any.
Well, you have to. You can't just walk out on a lease. Now, what proof do you have that she made statements to the landlord about you?
I have a document that she had given to the apartment complex, if you want to look at this.
That she signed?
That she signed, yes, absolutely.
I'd like to see it. Who prepared this letter for you?
Me and my mom read it.
Well, you can't just say, I accept no responsibility for rent or expenses relating to the apartment after June 29th, 2006. You have a contract with them, and you have a contract with her. And you made absolutely no effort to find another roommate. You have to be a big girl. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Well, why did you help her write this letter? Stand up when you talk.
Because she needed to write it at the time.
What do you mean she needed to write it at the time? I don't understand you. Did you know your daughter smoked marijuana?
She had before.
She had before?
Yes,
She
I
probably
did
had during, and I guarantee you she does afterwards, maybe not in the apartment, but it's not something that frightens her because she does it herself. And that's the only drug use that she ever says she saw in the apartment. So why would she sort of ascribe any untoward behavior to the plaintiff? It's outrageous. She's a baby, and she shouldn't be coddled by you. Should have told her not to rent the apartment in the first place. You have a roommate now?
No, I do not.
Did you have a roommate?
Yes, I did for 1 month.
So you did have a roommate?
Yes.
When did the roommate move in?
In October. It was a temporary thing. He was moving in and moving out, and I needed the rent, so I told him he could move in for the 1 month that he was transferring places from where he was at to going back to his parents' house. It was an agreement we had from the start. He was the only person I could find, and I needed the money at the time, so any money's better than no money at this point.
Did you put any ads in the paper?
I have not, but I had a roommate lined up that bailed on me last minute, so it's just a bunch of...
Who's paying?
Mother does. I'm a full-time student.
When is the lease up?
May of 2007.
Well, you better see if you can find another roommate.
Absolutely, I'm in the
What's the
process.
rent?
$1,400. It's actually $1,391.
Okay, so it's $700 each. Is that right?
Not including utilities.
She moved out in May. Did you pay May's rent?
Yes.
Did you pay June's rent?
Yes.
You didn't pay July?
No.
Didn't pay August?
No.
Didn't pay September?
No, but she wrote me a letter saying that she was having a roommate move in September 1st, 2006, and I responded to her
Let me see.
letter.
Give her both of them.
Okay. Well, you wrote this letter to her, telling her exactly what she owed and that your daughter, fortunately, had found a roommate that will be moving in September 1st. You wrote the letter.
However, can I?
Yes.
Okay. Brooke had a girl from work lined up that had given us a $200 deposit, which we, on the itemization, showed that she had given us. The girl ended up not moving in. So we deducted $200, the deposit she had given, and we did get a deposit from her to secure us, but it didn't remove Kim from the lease. Anyways, she did not get another roommate until Chad moved in for 1 month. She has contacted everybody. She let the apartment know that she would move out if they could find somebody. A tenant had come to me regarding something, and I had tried to work something out where she could even take over the apartment so Brooke could move back home.
I got you. You have 3 months' rent so far. We have October that this fellow moved in, and you have November and December. That's 5 months' rent. It's $3,500. So far, that's what you owe her. And although I'm not happy with the letter that you sent, the letter does not indicate that the plaintiff is the one that was using drugs in the apartment. It says that there was drug use in the apartment. It doesn't describe that conduct particularly to her. Could have been other people, it could have been guests, etc. So I'm not awarding you any money for defamation. Right now, the entire lawsuit has not come to fruition yet. It's not become fixed yet because I am hoping that she will find a roommate.
So am I. I'm paying the rent.
Right, I got it. You can't do that. And your daughter can't do that. She's got a responsibility. Why should this mother be responsible for the rent? Let your daughter move in, she'll move out. You want to do that? Stand up. Move over. The apartment's lease goes until next May. Right now, Miss Beeson's mother has been footing the bills for your daughter's share of the rent. She's perfectly prepared for her daughter to come home and live at home. You want to assume the responsibility from January until May for your daughter? She'll move out and your daughter can move in. That way she can be safe. She can have only her own friends. How about it?
No, I would not.
Why?
Why? Because
Why is my question. Why is it okay for this lady to pay all the rent when your daughter defaulted and not for you to pay all the rent when your daughter defaulted?
Well, first of all, that lady doesn't have to pay anything. I don't have to pay anything.
Sure
They're
you
two
do.
adults.
No, just a second. You made an excuse for your daughter and you helped her craft a letter to get out of a lease. Your daughter had no right to move out.
May I say something? What if I find her a roommate?
No question. That's not my question. My question is, you can't stick her with the rent. What, instead of her having to pay you any money since she's already out that money, you move in. You find a roommate. You don't have to find her a roommate. Find yourself a roommate that you're happy with. How about it?
No.
Yeah,
May I say something?
Right. Right. She's a big baby. And don't encourage her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's all.
कैसा लगा मेरा ये सिस्टम के बारे में कमेंट में आगाह करें। कैसा लगा मेरा ये सिस्टम के बारे में कमेंट में आगाह करें।